was I screwed up sorry.
No, you're fine. If we're good, we're good. We're ready to start. We'll squeeze as much as we can out of this.
Yes.
Last we left off, boy oh boy, our party had traversed to the Vulcanfell, entering the citadel of Eagle Rock and confronting Finrolder's mother, where a climactic struggle happened, the banished man trying to get some desperate edge in before he was frozen in time. Given one last chance, revealed himself to be just unsolvable, and then was consequently obliterated by Ambram right in front of Finrolder.
Oh,
With a Zuardo, nonetheless.
With him in his, death howls, cursing everyone around him, being reduced into a cinder of ash, Finrolder is left just speechless. After saying what he had said goodbye. Where we come back, all of the distant crowd and guards after that event have just sprung into life. A man being disintegrated in the courtroom. There are individuals in scale mail and halberds surrounding pretty much the entire party, but to the exclusion of Finrolder. He's kind of getting swallowed by the military presence while he's just stunned. They are all surrounding you, Ambram, because you pulled a weapon out in the middle of the court. Despite the fact that you have murdered an unstable individual, it is very clear that you are going through the process of being disarmed in a outwardly violent fashion. The Queen Dreki is just casually overlooking this with this sort of just cold visage, like she expected all of this to happen.
Let them.
Fair enough. You are consequently told to put the weapon down and are escorted out of this room.
The last thing I say as I look forward over to Finrolder and I say, I'm sorry. And then I let them take me out.
It's just one of those things where you get
hardly even seem to notice. I'm still staring at my father's ashes.
Yeah, matter of fact, the one sight that you do glimpse of him is in between a pair of guards who quickly kind of pass each other, and then all of a sudden, there's no vision. He's completely consumed in the tide of military bodies. You were brought out of the chamber.
Putting away his sword now that things are cleared.
Am I still near enough to, or am I still standing right next to Finrolder?
I imagine that you might be standing next to Finrolder, just kind of not really sure if you should extend a hand or something.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and put a hand on his shoulder and just say, kind of try to snap him back to reality.
Morholt's being busy getting, basically pummeled by these individuals that are pushing past him, kind of securing this, general periphery, making sure that there are no more imminent threats. Kyra, what are you doing?
Probably going
Yeah, what just actually happened? The dude just disintegrated.
I mean, we saw the demon shit.
Fair.
But, just being was that him or something taking a part of him?
Who fucking knows?
Kierlan is kind of scared that his spell actually caused all the sins so much. All the sins against the banishment caused him to actually burn.
So, of this crowd, the only individuals that are not occupied are Kyra and Morty. I'd like you both to give me perception checks.
Alright, I'm horrible at perception, but I'll do my best.
My character sheet. Try. Almost. Perception.
20 tags already. We just started the jewelry shop.
38. Okay.
Not bad.
Not bad for you.
Not buying one or two things up.
Alright. So,
mediocre for Kyra.
Out of the midst of this crowd, boots stomping, there's a general mayhem of just this entire periphery being secured. Tyler, you are so swept up in it, you're just kind of looking around and just trying to get a bearing. Kyra, your ear kind of twitches a bit as you hear something a bit strange and out of place. You look over, and just passing along the side of one of these boots, you see a little bit of a scrape as you see the sword that was originally next to the ash pile move and get picked up.
By who?
You're not certain. You can push forward to investigate, trying to get past the guards, but you catch this. Like, the sword is being picked up.
Yeah, I'm gonna follow.
Fair enough. You push past guard, and eventually you make it to a break through the crowd. I will keep your original perception roll. You see escaping from this general, like, clusterfuck in the midst of all of this stuff happening, keeping in mind that there are, like, people of high importance here and various garbs, including cloaks. However, you catch somebody that's kind of breaking away from this. On a bit of a more tattered, just sort of like hole-filled robe with a cloak pulled over the head, is just kind of like snaking and weaving through people.
Well, I think I'm going to be doing very much the same.
Fair enough.
So I can try and, at the very least, my goal here is to get Finralder his father's sword.
Alright, do you want to follow this figure stealthily or just follow?
Let's do stealthily.
Go
because,
right ahead.
You know, I can even go invisible for this if I really wanted to.
That's
If
what you
others
wish.
didn't.
It's a bit difficult here in the crowd with everybody moving about. However, you can certainly attempt it if you want to.
Actually, hold on. Crowd. This is something I have never used before, but I have a +4 to hiding in crowds.
Nice! I didn't actually know that.
38 plus 4.
50. So, you basically serpent-like weaving your way through until eventually this part disperses. Most people aren't paying attention to you, you're kind of just in general blending Assassin's Creed style. Following this figure, who kind of makes a break out in the same fashion as you, eventually gets to one of the various doors, in fact, the back end of the facility, the opposite end of where you entered this grand chamber, and slips through the door, just kind of closing it behind. You quickly follow through the door, peeking. Out on the balcony of this complex, this large stone balcony, which you recall Araman having spotted in his vision, this lone cloaked figure approaches the edge of this balcony, clambering up onto the steps, onto this guardrail, and is now overlooking all of this terrain. Just kind of looking out into the distance with the setting sun. They're basically... Yeah, they're standing on the edge of the guardrails on this balcony and are staring off into the sunset.
I'm trying
You're
to
still
think here.
stealthed. They haven't seemed to have noticed you.
Does it look like they're looking for something, or...?
You can... There is a general sense of anger in the way that the character moves. If you want to make a sense motive check to kind of glean more information. Serious just outrage. Almost like a confusion apparent. A bit of shaking in the arms and the legs as they were snaking through. Now that they are looking off into the distance, you get a sense that they're now reassessing. Kind of thinking about the path to go forward. Or at least that's your observation of them. And at this point, takes 1 foot and drops off of the balcony.
Well, I'm obviously gonna look over to see what the hell they just did. And if they just splat into the ground, that's fair too.
You rush over to the balcony and just kind of like grip the both of the sides of the rail and push yourself over. Not throwing yourself over, but like throwing your upper torso over, that way you can get a good look. Near the rock outcroppings that are just kind of spiking up below. For a second, you catch the figure falling with the cloak in just absolute tatters, before it dissipates into a fine mist, rising up maybe 30 or so feet before you hear it's very distant, almost stealth-like in its approach. It is the sound of wind hitting wing. And you see this ginormous bat just curving around the architecture of this palace before dive-bombing, pulling the wings in and going faster than most other things that you've seen from the animal world. It catches up towards the coalescing smoke which forms onto its back, and as the bat extends its wings, kind of saving itself from impaling on the stones, it takes off into the distance. And for a second, you see the cloaked figure's head turn over and those burning, vampiric eyes staring back into yours.
Yeah, at that point, realizing that this is 100% Silvara, Kyra is just not going to hide anymore, just kind of stand out on the balcony and think to herself, well, things never quite turn out how you expect them. But I'm going to stick a mental pin in this for later, and remind Finralder that his father's sword is still out there.
Very well. So, you return back to the crowd, and as everything is dispersed, currently right now, Ambram, you are being guided away from this chamber and being brought to, basically the wealthy prison. It's not necessarily the slums. There's no real iron bars. It's more like elaborately decorated containment chambers. There's wonderful furniture. There's definitely food and drink presented, and you are being left here without your weapons. There are 2 guards standing on the inside of the doorway behind a very secure door. Everybody else in the courtroom, as everything peters out, Finrolder, you are left once again with a audience with the Dragon Queen. And there's just kind of this silence between the both of you as either one attempts to find the will to speak.
So, I'm still not going to say anything, but I'm going to kneel down. Not fall to my knees, I'm going to kneel down and sift through the ashes. Is there anything left at all?
There are definitely more than a couple of things that remain. From what you can find, there are segments of his armor, and just kind of like going through the entirety of the pile, it is very evident that there are large, bulky items, and eventually your hand settles on the grip of the sword that you had forged.
That's precisely what I was looking for.
You pull it out of the ash and have to give it a quick and with that, portions of your father scatter to the wind inside of the chamber and dissipate.
I'm going to hold the sword in both my hands, and I'm just going to say...
Strangely, though, his sword is gone.
You always find your way back to me. No one is willing to keep you but I now. And I'm going to, sling the short sword over my torso.
I'm like, hell yeah, she is!
And, I'm actually not too surprised that the cursed sword is gone. After seeing what my father had become, I'm kind of internally rationalizing it as well. Maybe they were dependent on one another to exist. Maybe there was some kind of magical link, and now that my father's gone, so's the evil sword. That, me not knowing much about how this works, that seems to add up to me.
Fair. As you pick up and brandish the sword, I assume, slotting it back into the empty sheath. Instead of Dreki confronting you, who is just kind of like very regally watching from her throne, instead, it is her second. The Regent approaches you. As you grow close in proximity, it is almost this kind of just like wave. You know, like computer static?
Yeah.
It's
like
almost
dial-up noises?
No. Like, basically, or it's whenever you're looking at like TV static. Imagine that feeling across your skin, like pins and needles. And just kind of brushes up, putting one hand just kind of on your arm and one hand on the back of your shoulder. I understand if you do not want to continue this. You may rest, reflect upon your thoughts, and this can continue another day.
So, it's at this point I look this aide dead in the eyes, and I'm going to...
It's kind of strange Because whenever you look, you're expecting to find, like, humanoid eyes gazing back at you. There's nothing but, like, black globes. And you realize that the hood that had been covering most of her face is doing so for good reason. There's almost a pallorly skin, not undead, but unnatural, almost aberrant.
So, as I look this woman dead in the eyes, I'm just going to, in a tone much like my father might have said, "It can't all have been for nothing." And, I'm going to look around. Where's Ambrum?
He's been escorted to a place where he can be safely interrogated. If you wish, I will lead you to him.
Let's go.
I am scared.
Erland is just going to gently walk behind them.
There's no attempt to stop you. Anyone that wants to join can join. Everybody else... Anybody else is free to wait here or partake in services, maybe even rest or recollect spells.
No, there's some important things going on here.
I'll assume everybody follows. So, guiding you through the very same steps that Ambrum took, except instead you are met with a royal response as opposed to that of a prisoner. You eventually reach the exterior of this chamber and the door, which is fairly solid, made of a good iron. Definitely not steel, but iron. On either side are twin guards, which, given the appropriate notice, go to unlatch the various components before opening and letting you inside. She kind of like sweeps you in before you actually enter, before entering yourself, and looks back to the rest of the party. Would you prefer this to be a private conversation?
They go or I do.
Very well. Come then. And the rest of you are beckoned inside before the doors are sealed. But before the doors are sealed, she kind of like points to both of the interior guards, which there are 4. 2 on one side, 2 on the other. She forces them to leave before the doors are sealed.
Am I like...
You are doing whatever you feel like doing. There's furniture here, there's food, you could be standing in reflection, not really sure.
I'm probably just sitting in a chair, holding my head. Just holding the sides of my temples, just staring at the floor.
You had to do it.
No response.
You know, part of me knew it had to happen eventually. He changed. He really did. That wasn't the man who raised me. And I thought some of him would still be buried somewhere inside of the monster he turned into. But now, I'll never know.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
It wasn't the act, Finrolder, that I am ashamed of. It was... Ambrum looks up towards you.
You can see that Finralder doesn't seem angry so much as he seems dejected.
I do not know what dejected means. Disappointed?
He's not disappointed, not... He seems dour.
Grim.
Grim. That's a good word for it.
We colluded against you. We knew we didn't want to fight Dreki, your mother. We knew we didn't want to fight your father, but I felt we had to give him a choice. You gave me the same choice, and I wanted some hope of light to come through or something. I don't. And that's not the part that hurts the worst. It's the part that I went behind your back, Finrolder. I planned for this. I was willing to fight you, too, if it was necessary. Not kill you, but to understand that if we can't fix him, you can't let...
He did a lot of horrible things. I know. But he did them for me. To his dying breath, I know he cared about me. And just watching him crumble felt like I was the one who stuck a knife in his back. At any moment, I could have just attacked Brecky. I could have demanded he'd been unfrozen, and we just got to business, but looking at what he became, the fire in his eyes, the way he just didn't seem human anymore, and then looking at my mother, just same as I imagined her from when I was a child. He was gone. He was dead before you ever pulled the trigger, Emma. I tried saving him up on that hill when I took Connie with me. Even if anyone was going to be able to save him, it was going to be me, the person he did all of it for. But not a word I said meant anything to him. He had consumed by grief and anger. And in his wake, he left not just destruction, but created things even worse than him. And you know what? You were right. He couldn't be allowed to let another Solvara exist.
Why is it every time we step foot on ground, that ground becomes tainted with blood? Good people all around us always fall. Is this our curse, Finrolder?
You may have gone behind my back, but if you came straight up to me and you told me you were planning to kill my father, I wouldn't have hesitated to drive you into the ground. But you waited. And when he died and I saw that he wasn't human anymore, it just made much more sense to me.
I was afraid that spell I cast wasn't going to be able to do anything. All it does is...
You tried. I told you to try. You did what I asked and it didn't work. You really did try, Morty. You did your damnedest for me.
And I'll do it again. Even if it resulted in the same thing. Sometimes this life is just not going to end up the way we want it. We'll try our hardest to bring life here, but
maybe it should have been me. Maybe I should have been the one to take him out of this. But there was no way I would have had the chance to raise my own weapon against my father.
And I don't blame you. He raised you. Even if he was merely a shadow. That shadow passed long over you. You lived your entire life living under a shadow of what your father taught you. Even
I
now, you
lived my
still.
entire life thinking he was dead. I lived my entire life to honor him, to remember him, and to do good by everything he taught me. And just a few weeks ago, I found out he was alive, and now he's gone. Again. Now it's true. Now he really is gone.
Finralda, I've heard tales of your father that you told us in the past. Remember that man. The caring, gentle soul. Remember who he was, not what he became. Please?
Fulgjot Mirox and Bloodfang died on a rainy morning when his son was taken from him. You killed the banished man. It can't all have been for nothing. I know what I have to do now.
Please don't make another foolish mistake, Finralda. Don't add any more corpses to the pyre.
It's not gonna be your corpse.
And I don't want to see it be yours either.
Ambram.
No.
I swore an oath.
What?
He made me take one more oath before he was gone. And even though you were the one who ended up putting him down, you're not the one he'd want me to kill.
Finralda, do not do this. Ambram stands up and takes a step towards Finralda.
Kieran's going to put a hand on Finrolder's shoulder and says, "I'm sorry. I think by
He
his
had
own
one
word,
final wish.
the oath was to help him kill." Oh,
Morty, it's not... An oath is not a legal... It's not a legal agreement. It's not something that's just words. There's a spirit. And if I don't do this, I'm dishonoring what that oath really meant.
And that oath was given to you by a man who was not your father, and I don't want to have to bury a friend of mine this day.
I've already
It becomes apparent just because of the pitter-pattering that you can hear from the roof above you. There isn't another floor above this region that it is beginning a light rain.
I've already broken one oath. Ages ago. I don't know if the gods will forgive me for that. I'm not going to give them another reason to feed my soul to the serpent.
Ambram puts his hand on Finralder's shoulder.
I allow this. I'm not brushing it away or pushing you off or anything.
Thankfully, because of the gauntlet, you're getting grease smeared. The two of you share this somber moment.
He just looks him in the eye. Finralda, if you do this, you can't, once you walk down that path, you can't come back.
It's not the only thing I have to do. I got this far. And it can't all have been for nothing. I'm not just going to turn around and leave.
At least give her a chance. chance.
I'm not going to lose my mother, too.
And
She showed me that she is at least something of a human.
as much as I hate it, I too did give an oath of sorts.
That was meant for me. You may all have agreed, but it was my word you wanted.
I will help to protect my friend, but I don't want any more blood on the ground. I just want this to be over. I want us to go home. I want the gods to stop burning the world to the ground.
It's not going to be over until I do what we have to do. Until we do what we have to do. Everyone's here, right?
Yep.
Like all the party?
Everyone except for Mordholt, who got swept away in the crowd.
Yeah, I'm gonna look around. Thank you. Thank you all for standing by me. I wouldn't have made it this far into Nordana, or through my life, without you by my side. I may soon be a king, but one of you will become a god.
It's giving me some divinity vibes.
One sec, I'll be right back.
Finralder, then let us go. As shield brothers once again.
Very well. We made it this far, and we've done nothing but try to keep this damnable world in one piece. And if that's how we live, then by the gods, that's how we're gonna go out. The only way Nordana's going to survive what's coming is if I'm the one on the throne. And the only way the world's gonna survive what's coming is if one of you takes the mantle. Both of these things need to happen. I don't want to play into her hand, but it's what fate has cut out for me. And I'm done running.
Either way.
We came to this frozen hellscape with you, and we're leaving with you as well.
Believe me, Kyra, I intend to leave Nordana alive. There's no doubt in my mind about that. But I have to sit on that throne. There's no other way.
Well, considering how long
I'm not going to let my father have died for literally nothing.
Either way, Dreki's gonna be around for quite a bit longer, and we still have a few, let's just say, errands that still need to be done. And when you walk back to Nerdarna, and should things play out accordingly, then I might stick around as well. It'd be fun watching you, you know, try to get a handle on things.
Assuming you aren't the one who takes the mantle.
Ehrman's just gonna kind of shrug. He's just gonna be like, "I'm already gonna be here for till the end of time, more than likely. So I mean, it probably wouldn't be
I might as
too big of
well
a change
be
of
a
pace."
god.
Yeah. However, I do like alcohol a lot. I don't know if gods could drink, or at least, you know, get drunk.
God worth a damn drinks speed.
Your domain will be ethanol.
Just a constant existence of being intoxicated.
Ethanol and vape juice.
But either way, whether or not I become a god, if not, well, there is room in this big castle for me to crash in every now and then, right?
Once I'm on the throne, you can sleep wherever the hell you damn well please.
Airman's just gonna start laughing. Well, first we need challenges lay ahead of us.
I'm
Who
going
knows
to
what that
tell my
sword
mother that I accept her offer. And then Solvar is still out there,
I want to.
needs to be put down for good.
as is Fafnir.
While I have no plans on becoming God, there are a few matters of the souls that I need to tend to. If what Savor told me back in the forest is true, there are souls within my sword that are just simply not that have sought redemption and are simply dormant and waiting release.
You and I both know that sword is a heavy burden.
Yes, and I do not take
You
it
can't
lightly.
condemn something to suffer forever. That's too much of a punishment for any crime.
Agreed. I That's why I seek to go to Mangus Eyes and
The eyes of Magnus.
Eyes of Magnus.
Eyes
Thank
of
you.
Magnus? No, Aegir's eyes. What am I
Aegir's
thinking?
Eyes. Why do I keep getting them mixed up? Why do I?
Well, your strange words rubbed off on me.
But yes, I need to visit Aegir's Eyes. The
Once I'm
like
king, there will be a visit to Aegir's eyes. Someday.
And I'm
Yes.
assuming it's gonna be a lot of blood.
Elf blood.
I need to go there on a peace mission personally. One where,
Well, you better do it while you still can.
and I plan to. If you
It's
tend
about
to
this
go
time that a guard seemingly kind of like there's the sound of frantic unlocking, and then the door swings open, and he kind of quickly pans the room, looking about most of the party before settling on the regent. Asta, there are figures at the north, bigger than we've ever seen before. Come quickly. And he's going to immediately.
I'm going to
regent.
nod my head towards Ambram. He needs to come with us.
She looks back towards you and whatever's necessary. You all should accompany us. And she quickly leads to
With
exit.
that, yep, I'm following.
yes,
I'm sorry for the
are.
interruption of your conversation, but
We
there
had,
are
said
pressing
all
matters.
we had said all we needed to say.
Airman's just going to activate his arm and just be like, "This is the story of our life. This ain't something new."
Can I get my weapon back?
We've only
Good lord.
in the
There's a reason why I'm muting my microphone.
I notice now.
in the past 5 years, we've only had like a single month of just pure rest. We are used to this.
Sure. So, Ambram's weapon is quickly returned to him, and you all make for the northern battlements. Exiting the palace, this rainstorm has quickly grown. It has gone from a light patter to now sort of this medium interspersed storm that is beginning to develop and grow. Clouds are developing in the sky, forming, kind of obscuring the general skyline. From your vantage point from Eagle Rock, specifically exiting Eagle Rock, you can see the distant lightning strike, just a... And in the brief flash, up on the northern ridge, where there are mountains, there are figures gathered. And just out of like a general intelligence, there is definitely a like height to them. Like they are not just individuals. You couldn't see them if they were just normal individuals. These are giants of a sort.
That was a perception roll to see if I could, you know,
42.
try to identify it based on its profile.
It definitely is giving you construct vibes. Like these
Okay.
are large figures off in the distance.
Hey, Finralder,
Yes.
are those what your people call Utan?
No. You are not that big.
That's an engineering. Just to see if I could, like,
You
identify.
Oh,
have
shit.
no idea.
My
Okay.
father said something about this.
It was only a brief glance.
Figures striding under the sea, and lights. Whatever we were warned of has finally come home to roost.
Wait. Kiran's eyes are going to go extremely wide. What about those things we freed from the desert?
They definitely match profile-wise.
Hang on. What things did y'all guys free from the desert?
If it is those things, why are they here? This is everything but the desert.
They said they had to do some journeys and take care of some issues, and they went off into the ocean, if I'm correct.
Kyra, you being pretty intelligent, they didn't just say that they were going to secure some issues. They specifically said that they were leaving on a spiritual journey to find the Star Child.
Well, that's not quite what they said, but it still doesn't make sense.
Regardless, you are about halfway through the city of Vulcanville, growing till you're able to reach the outer battlements to get a better look at these things. By the time that you are climbing up this ancient stonework and reaching to a archer's hawk vantage point, you can see that it has grown from a meager 2 constructs, 4, and then to 6, lining in the mountain ridges in the distance. The storm is just growing worse and worse, obscuring their outlines.
I'm going to try something. Is this storm sponsored by magic?
Sponsored by magic?
Sponsored?
Sponsored by Wizards of the Coast,
I know.
Magic the Gathering.
I meant spawned by magic. That was my bad.
You can give me a detect magic.
This episode of
I'm going to pass it.
this episode of Casino Edition is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends.
You quickly identify that there is definitely a magical radiance occurring. However, it's definitely not the source of a general spell. Give me a spellcraft check to really identify what kind of magic is going on here. 43.
With a 1!
with a natural 1, but it's still a 43. So you quickly scan over what can cause changes in weather. Various things occur from control weather spell, which this obviously is not, to residual magic energies bleeding into the material realm. There is evidently a great arcane surge going on at wherever the origin point of this storm is. And off in the distance, you can see that it is growing worse and worse, as if something were approaching. Whatever is causing this storm, it is a magical bleeding effect of just enormous proportions.
I'm going to try to control weather to calm it. I'm not even going to try to stop it. I'm going to try to
go
calm
right
it.
ahead. Give me a caster level check.
Okay, so that's 1d20 plus 19 plus my intelligence modifier.
It should be your caster level plus... I think it'll just be your caster level. I just want you to make a caster level check.
Okie dokie. 23. And I'm gonna also do 1d6. 38.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, control weather takes about an hour to cast. 10 minutes for casting.
Yeah.
So the first 5 minutes pass without incident. You're kind of tapping into the inner weave here. As you're doing so, the storm is getting worse and worse. As you reach about the 7-minute mark, and you are now creating arcane breaches, just kind of creating little networks branching off. That way you can really tamper with the material realm.
I don't want to
another thunder crack. And as the spell is manifested, what do you want to do?
I'm going to create like an aura like around this local area. I'm not going to try to spread it out as wide as whenever I was causing a hurricane.
So,
Kind of making an artificial eye in the storm, trying to get it to pass around us rather than.
you want to create kind of like a 2-mile radius circle of calmer weather?
Yeah, and just see if I can't divert it rather than trying to stop it or completely change it.
Just lessening it, trying to divert the
Yeah,
storm.
yeah,
So, the weather does temporarily lessen. The wind and rain that was beating down on all of your faces begins to just kind of gently lift, giving you a chance to really observe what's going on. However, your attempt to divert the course of the storm...
No, I'm meaning like creating a bubble that just lets
I
it.
understand.
Yeah.
You're wanting it to pass to divert the storm by creating a bubble of calmer conditions. It's not working.
Okay.
Whatever is happening, it's growing closer and closer, and as another thunder crash comes in and a brief period of light, you can see between the mountains there is a artificial construct floating in the air. Just kind of the brief flash of light shows it obscured by mist, coated in rain all over it, but it is as big as the mountains.
Yeah.
It's not walking, it's not humanoid. It is almost like a sea vessel floating.
Oh,
Massive.
I'm going and just say, I don't know what the hell those things are, but I can't keep the weather contained very much longer.
Yeah, its surface consists of an almost alien, curling, elegant architecture and is aligned with this just pure arcane energy. As it begins to approach and the storm is battering against your control weather spell, there's almost this breach, and you feel a bit of this almost hurricane force, arcane emanation, just radiating from this thing. Snap the control weather effect as if it were nothing.
Oh, okay. I was gonna
With it, it just crashes in, and the storm just doubles, quadruples in intensity. And as it draws closer, you can see the source of what is radiating the storms. Glowing spots on circles on this large vessel's hull, in this almost way that it seems organic in the way that it is placed. These glowing circles radiate, sparking out with light, creating these swirling torrents of elemental energy as it is keeping this city floating.
City?
It is some sort of floating city.
Is there a knowledge check I can try?
Elegant and spiky in the shape of a massive vessel.
Is there any check to see if these things are hostile?
You're not necessarily certain, but if you want to try and identify it, Eli, you can go ahead and give me a history check, as will anybody here that wishes.
Yeah, sure.
I think I have history.
Incapable of that.
I am
Not
incapable
into
of
history.
feats of intelligence.
History,
45.
history.
Here's I have no clue. Absolute nothing.
There. So, with the highest roll of 45, Airman, with your somewhat like half-drow sensibilities and your pure knowledge of just history in general, you recall an ancient legend. One that is widely discarded among the elves of this land, but it is thought to be one of their origins. On the reaches of Norderna, in one of the scattered oceans, an asteroid was said to have arrived, causing a cataclysmic implosion, just kind of creating this massive typhoon that swarmed and basically drowned a portion of Norderna with its sheer intensity. Afterwards, it was said that elves were born of this wreckage, of this meteor, and became one of the more dominant races on this globe. You have
Elves
a
are
sense
aliens.
that meteor...
Elves are aliens.
You have a sense that meteor was not natural.
And we are probably looking at the very source.
You are looking at the very source. If you had to take a wild guess, judging from the sheer weather effect that it is bringing upon the continent of Norderna, it has likely risen from an area of high water density, likely the sea, and has carried the resulting storm over Norderna. Meaning that this
Wait.
vessel, which was long sheltered underneath ocean waves, has emerged and is
Is there a
now
name?
Wait.
Is
drifting
there a
across
name?
the coast.
Is this 8 years eyes?
You're not necessarily certain. You don't know the name of the vessel.
No, I'm meaning the event. Like,
Oh, the events. I don't know if there's a specific name to the event. Brian, did you have one, or should I make one up?
I called it the seeding.
Ah, then yes, the seeding.
Ehrman's just going to look at Finralder and just say, Finralder, I think I might know what this is. Something in lost history.
You humor me.
The seeding. Something more.
I'm not even looking at Araman. I'm just staring at
Looking
this
at
thing
this
mouthing
city.
gate.
Yep.
How the hell do
it
we
should
fight
be
that?
mentioned that these figures are not moving, they are simply watching. It seems as if they are waiting for something.
I'm going-
Seeding. Right.
The massive cataclysmic event. Birth of the Elves. Ring a bell? The one that's, rather
At
popular.
this point,
You're not
the-
talking to a student of history.
At this point, the soldier that's accompanied the regent seems to almost be breaking down. Like, how do we even fight something like that? And the regent Asta turns around, puts a shoulder on him, batten down all of the windows, board everything up, prepare for a siege.
I'm going to
is
give
going
it
to
another
summon
try.
his wolf.
Do you know anything else about this thing? Is this a weapon? Are we about to deal with an invading army?
From what I heard, it's
He's
more
going
of a
to
seed.
use, he's going to summon his wolf. He's going to use which spell was it called? The one to give it my wolf wings. Sky Steed. And he's going to start flying up towards this thing. Not in any sort of
You're
hostile
going
manner.
robot mode, by the way, Eli.
You are going a bit robot mode.
Morty, you fucking dumbass! Get your ass back here!
Just disappearing into the distance on his wolf.
Morty! Morty, you fucking idiot! Oh, great. Morty's about to die.
I can give it another shot, Finrolder.
You need to. There you go. Okay, you sound better now.
Yeah. I can give this another chance and see if I can't calm the weather, but...
You might want to do it before Morty gets too far.
Yep. Araman's
He's already
going...
slipping off into the distance.
Araman's going
You
to
want
give
me
it
to
a
make
try.
a ride check so that I don't fly off?
One more time. One more time.
This is
My
really
last
one of
use
those
of
times I wish I had
weather
a gun.
control, and I'm gonna try to maintain it.
Fucking Cairo without her gun. Jesus.
Okay. So,
So,
I'm gonna...
you are taking another 10 minutes to try and manifest this, and whilst this is happening, the storm is growing worse from Tyler's point of view. Yeah, give me a ride check.
Okay.
The wolf seems fine, but like this torrential wind is just pattering you. It's seeping through the slit in your visor, and it's just kind of like impaling your eyes with icy water.
As Araman is preparing his spell, I'm going to heft my hammer to my side.
Not happening.
If he doesn't come back soon, I'm going after him.
Fair.
Fuck it. I'll use a hero point. Fuck it. I'm re-rolling that. That was a 1. And my plus 6.
34 plus 135.
I'm
I will
going
say
to,
that
instead of trying to divert it, I'm just going to make a shell. Like, I'm just going to straight up go turtle. I'm just going to be turtle.
You are going robot.
One sec.
We need to like crowdfund a new mic for Eli.
We do.
Better?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I'm just
So-
going to go full on turtle and minimize what I can't and isolate it to a much smaller area and just kind of
Are you wanting to center this on Morty or on you guys?
on on us. Morty's gonna be going up to it, so at some point he's gonna go beyond. I'm going to go turtle and keep it from, letting the wind and rain wash us off this hillside.
Alright. 10 minutes pass. 20 minutes. You're keeping everybody safe, lessening the effects of the weather, letting the guard get a bit of a head start in terms of preparing the city of Vulcanfell.
There was
Tyler.
So, if Tyler doesn't come back in the next minute, I'm gonna go after him.
Oh, absolutely. Like, it's too far away. It's on the mountain ridges on, like, the edge of your sight line. So it's gonna take him at least the better half of maybe 20 minutes getting to it.
Okay.
So, minute by minute passes, constantly fighting this growing storm. Eventually you start to spot they're not making any attempt to hide themselves. Things that were previously hidden in this rain and just pure force of nature. Serpentine forms, large draconic wings. Several huge or size above dragons are flying along with you. Sometimes they kind of like duck and spiral above you. At some point one of them deigns to fly alongside you for maybe a period of 1 or 2 minutes.
He's
before
going
they
to wave
break
to
off.
that dragon as he leaves.
It doesn't even seem to give any effect, as if you were some kind of ant before it curls off and peels off into the rainstorm.
Yeah,
You
this
get a
time
sense that you are passing by the figures underneath you, and you look down and you can kind of just see how titanic they truly are. These are the same beings that you released in the desert. It seems that they've made their way here. At this point, the growing size of the vessel makes it towards less arriving at one particular destination, and more picking a option from this humongous floating territory. There are several domes which appear to have been kind of like goldened over as if they were made of a translucent material. You could go straight for the spiked bow of the ship, which is just huge in proportions. Like, this thing is... It's less a destination to make it to, and more of like a landmass.
Is this a fucking craft
Fearless
world,
is
and are
going
we
to
looking at
try
fucking
to-
Wraithbone Titans?
Maryland's going to try to identify any place where it might look like the ship is being controlled at, and try to go to that area.
Do you have any relevant knowledge checks?
Probably not. My knowledge checks is geography, history, nobility, maybe
Weird.
arcane.
You can give me a knowledge arcana check, sure.
This is not gonna be my best, but
This kind of architecture is beyond a man of such humble origins. You eventually deign to just try to make bed on any flat portion of this thing, thinking that you could perhaps find your way inside. Setting down, there's definitely a, like, almost crack, not dissimilar to claws on, like, a tile floor, as the wolf sits down and begins trying to find grip or purchase, and begins sliding off, kind of caught between the wind, and it's just kind of, like, looking around as if, it were just fucking, like, terrified. This thing is not what it likes either. You're the fearless paladin here. This animal is not fearless.
I'm going to summon the wolf back into me just to keep him safe at this point.
Fair enough, you pull up the nature of the shadow being, and it coalesces into your form, reforming, and then you hit the side of this metal and begin sliding off of it. Looking down below you, you see what is likely a almost 500-foot drop.
Oh dear.
You are making your way along one of these smoothened pieces of metal. What ideas grow in your mind, Tyler?
I'd go to one of the golden domes.
Fair enough. Goodness, do you have climb?
Yes, I do.
Give me a climb check.
Oh, it's not the best, but
A 17. So you try and find purchase on this, and immediately your mind almost cedes to the same panic that your wolf did. As in, I'm not finding purchase. This is slippery. There is rain pounding at my face and body. And eventually, as you find yourself hurtling towards the edge.
Erlen is going to pull out his sword at this time, not thinking of anything else other than this sword can penetrate anything.
Give me an attack roll.
Okay, I'll just roll a base attack roll, no damage. That's 25, okay.
With quick thinking, you turn the blade vertical and impale down into the hole, and this definitely strong, almost alien-like metal is split in two as if it were butter or ice against a hot blade. Carving through this, just dragging a long and smooth scar through its hole. As you are reaching towards this edge, you're almost worried that you're not going to be able to actually, like, get a grip, but then your mind kind of switches into that animalistic instinct of survival, and just as you reach the edge and begin to hang off, you turn the blade back horizontal and it catches on the flat of the blade, and you are holding on by one hand against a hurtling drop below you, being completely just coated in rain and wind. You are holding onto the side of this ancient star vessel.
I'm going to,
Good thing I have a spell of Inject Aspect Greater prepared.
Would
At
have
this
been
point,
bad otherwise.
I'm going to cast that now.
What are you doing, Tyler? Or not Tyler, Aaron?
I'm using my perception to see if I can't see, like, signs,
At this
of
point,
mortar
I've already
from this
gone
distance.
after Tyler.
How are you going after him by means? What are you all doing?
I'm using my hammer to fly the fuck into the storm myself.
Makes sense, you're having to, like...
Okay,
Alright,
Air,
I know what I'm doing. I'm going to follow along. Freedom of movement, airwalk, start running.
Nice! The storm
What?
doesn't even affect you. You're cutting along it like anything else and you're just running.
I'm going to try to fight the storm. Is there
Also-
a way I can sink a hero point to power, like, power the spell further?
I will incorporate your previous hero point because I don't want you spending hero points for this pretty native event.
Oh.
So I
what
will
do you
allow
mean,
you...
what, Amber?
Airman's taking it personally.
Great!
Alright.
That
Hey,
seems like an
everyone!
Airman thing to do.
Hey, I'm gonna go run off into the storm. I hammer away! Oh, I'm just gonna walk along the wind like fucking nothing. And I'm fucking here!
So as you're saying that, Araman's just kind of like getting this bead of sweat down his face, and he starts twisting these sigils into much more ancient and archaic forms, almost tapping into a primordial energy within himself. Begins to place shackles and limits on the boundaries of the storm, building his way up to a point where he can stabilize the surrounding region. At this point, do you want to turn the storm against the craft?
I'm going to, like, where the storm was once it's going to be mine.
Fair enough. While this craft is generating this effect, you're gonna try and use it to kind of like shunt it maybe a little bit?
I'm gonna try to make it calmer for those making the journey, and to keep the city from being washed off the hillside and lock it down.
Give me a percentile. D100.
Okay, D100. D100.
5.
45.
You try to
And
turn this against the craft, and as these winds are pounding against its hull, and everybody can kind of see these arcane wards beginning to divert the course
use a
of
hero
this.
point.
Jesus.
I am not losing against a fucking storm.
Hang on, hang on, I have a question. Would this be considered a skill check, what that percentile dice you just rolled?
No, but I will allow his
Typically,
hero
percentile
point.
dice are not skill checks.
Hang on.
Skill checks are D20s.
Araman is clearly wanting to have a display of power, and using a hero point, I will allow you to do so. Forget the percentile dice, I'll give you your cool moment.
Yes. This is redemption.
As these engines are generating this storm around it, you quickly invert and kind of accounting for the generation of this effect, you quickly force it to turn against it. And Tyler, you start to hear like this almost creaking and moaning of a grand and ancient creature tilting.
Oh,
This nation city that is floating above Norderna is
What?
now lurching. Something is causing it to like having to recoil against the force of its own storm. And at this point,
it's starting to get.
those still on Vulcanfell, the rain dissipates. It is just being contained and pushed by a single archmage.
Morty.
This is redemption
not
for
Morty.
the sandstorm, bitch.
It is at this point that you see off in the distance an almost triangle of like pure white metal descending towards you as the storm batters it and causes it to divert off course, coming within maybe tens of meters of the hull of its parent ship, before it suddenly lurches and tries to bring its arcane engines to bear, growing closer to you, Morty. Eventually it gets to the point where if you were to drag Dostosgab from its impaled grip, you might fall onto it.
He's
But with the storm, you're not necessarily certain.
Aaron is going to summon his angelic wings and as a precaution.
Get ripped from the side of the ship and just fly off into nothing.
He's going to summon his wings, pull his sword out, try to fall onto the ship, and get in if he can.
Fair. As you release the grip on the sword, kind of turning it back vertical and carving through just ancient metallic-like substance, you drop and try to use your wings as a guiding descent to slip onto this triangle, when all of a sudden, Aramin's arcane hero point amplified wind gust impacts. The triangle of metal that you recognize as a much smaller vessel just careens into the side of this starship. Hits the side of its parent and begins grinding and dragging sparks. And for a second, your eyes go wide as you are being swept into the grinding metal of two starships colliding into each other. Before you try to guide and hit the side of the skimmer before finding purchase on a single ledge. As you go to kind of like lean up and try to get yourself into a stable position, another shuddering impact rocks through the vessel, and you almost fall trying to bring your wings to bat before something grabs you. From the side of what appears to be a portion of the hull that is peeled away, due to the collision, mind you, it's not a door, it is a gaping, jagged hole in the metal. It seems like a armored warrior has grabbed you by your own armor and is now pulling you inside.
He's going to allow it. Kieran's going.
Wet and whimpering, Tyler just kind of hits the ground inside of this. And for a moment, you're given a temporary reprieve from the storm before you hear, "Guide, direct it! Go with the wind! We're crashing!" And there's another lurch as this triangle seems to be trying to separate from its own mother.
Kieran's going to try to use whatever brute force he can to push the thing out of the thing.
Oh, dude, give me a fucking strength check. This is badass.
Like, push the ship away from the ship?
Yeah, he's trying to push the skimmer away from the fucking, like, the star vessel.
This is going to be a +6.
Oh.
Oh, I'm re-rolling that hero point.
Oh my god, everybody loves to spend hero points.
You know what? Screw
Everyone
it.
loves to
Use
spend
my
hero
original.
points.
Use
Fuck
my.
it. Fuck it. I don't care. Don't even use it to reroll. You're gonna use it for a cool concept which a DM can allow. I'm gonna say, you spent a hero point. This is something that you're not going to be getting back very often. This means that you want something to happen, and in this case, I think it's fucking awesome. So, perching off of this, like, damaged wound within the side of the vessel, you take one of your legs, and in the grinding conflict of just this poor, small ship grinding against its own parent, you kick the side of it and try to push it with all of your strength. You're almost afraid you might get sucked in again. However, you double your resolve and just push, and you can feel these two things separating as you are beating back Araman's fucking wind catastrophe. You can hear what is apparently the, either captain or helmsman of this vessel giving a quick confirmation like, "We're separating! We're gonna make it!" And quickly tries to double his efforts in turning and diving and careening into the storm before the skimmer plummets from the side of its parent vessel, dipping into the darkness below the region. There's
You
almost
can-
this calming eye in the storm effect as you pass underneath this nation-sized ship. And everybody on board, the total of 5 crew, seem to breathe a sigh of relief. The one armored individual just kind of brushing a bit of the water off of his etched plate. That was a close one. You look over him, everybody in this crew seems to be of elven origin. So tell me, what the hell are you doing trying to pull such a crazy stunt?
My instincts just kicked in. I have trained myself to just defend anyone and anyone needing it.
So you've come to Vulcanfell's defense, to try and defend it against us.
I was hoping you could be diplomatically dealt with.
Oh, you're going to have a heyday.
Most likely, I haven't had a good, just peaceful run in the last 5 years of my life. I've been dealing with the Lich and a bunch of other things, one after another. And I'm cursed with this stupid sword. He says, as he holds it off to his side. And now, I don't even know.
So, at this point, as the skimmer is like kind of going into one of the crevices between this ship's like sort of spiked against structure, kind of getting sheltered from this storm as the two talk, Finralder, you have now reached the periphery of where all of this is taking place, along with Kyra, who is running alongside you, running on air. It's very strange, but it's magic. Who gives a shit? At this point, just kind of scanning around, you have no idea where Tyler is at first glance, completely unsure of yourselves. What do you want to do?
Huh.
You are also now
Well-
nearing the edge of this just ginormous thing that I'm running out of descriptors for.
I'm going to assume he made it on to the actual nation-sized spaceship that is currently
Yeah.
hovering. So I'm
That
gonna
would not
find
be
my
an
way up
unreasonable
there.
assumption.
I kind of felt bad, you know, the
No.
fact that they were struggling, and then oh, they were going to attack us anyway. Fuck them.
So, as you all are kind of like looking for an angle in this storm, we're going to go ahead and cut back to the sort of conflict on the skimmer. So, I vaguely recognize you. You're a member of their party, correct? The Guardians of Arisia, Champions of Arisia. I can't be damned to give a rat's ass.
Yes, I am.
Can you point me in the direction of your comrades?
They were down at Vulcanfell. I do not know if they stayed there while I took initiative.
That could be bothersome, but we can attempt to search for them. Helmsman, can you plot a course through the storm? And you just hear, no, this is really rough. There was supposed to be some emanations from the Star Child, but this is beyond any projections. And as the ship is sort of just trying to glide and keep a steady course, I think I'm getting something. I don't really know. I haven't had enough time to familiarize myself with these controls. I think there's something out in the storm. At this point,
Here,
as
Jones is-
Finralder and Kyra are just kind of exploring, there's this moment where you seem to catch this vessel that is not partaking in this almost school of fish style thought. You realize upon growing closer that not only is this ship present, there are many individual ships sort of floating in an almost fleet-like formation, almost like a school of fish in travel lanes going across it. However, one of them has broken this just sort of general flight path and is kind of cradled between two colossal spikes of this ancient metal, currently circling around one of the primary spires of a kind, hanging underneath. You get a sense that, if anything would break this unique pattern, it is especially the ship that is now attempting to get closer to.
There's a ship attempting to get closer to us?
Correct.
Kyra's gonna go, alright, fuck it, they're inviting us, and run straight towards it.
I'll call it an invitation of sorts. I'm gonna redirect my course and, like, just plummet at full speed towards the thing.
Hammer throw, and then all of a sudden, in this shared moment between everybody, the crew on board, and Morty, there's just this as the ship is violently knocked off of its course, the seeming impact just hitting it. Keeping in mind that this is not necessarily the biggest of vehicles, and with Finroller's momentum and sheer mass and mythic powers,
I need to do something.
He hits the side of this thing, and there is just a crater. Oh lord.
Oh, that was an image. Oops, hold on, I fucked up.
Did you just request FlipYap to play an image?
By accident. Hold on, let me try that again.
Take two.
Take two.
What is this? He flew pretty good.
Oh my god.
Oh, I haven't muted. Fuck.
For a brick, he flew pretty good.
So, you leave a massive crater, and as opposed to Morty's clean slice through this material, it almost seems to fracture. You have a brief smithing background, and you can tell that this is... the way that it is splintering and cracking is not reminiscent of any metal that you are aware of. It seems to be...
And I'm the one who broke it!
That being said, whenever you hit it, yeah, there is a sheer crater in the size of the skimmer. Kyra shows up near your side, and soon you see Mortimer hanging at one of these battle damage wounds at the side of this vessel, beckoning you all inside.
So with my hammer still in my hands, I'm going to saunter into where Morty is.
Fair enough. You both enter the vessel, gaining reprieve from the storm. Is anyone else left behind aside from Ambrom, who's stuck at Vulcanfell?
Ambrom and Airman, I'm pretty sure, are still on the balcony.
Hasn't he done stupid bullshit feats with his acrobatics before?
Airman's having fun.
I should have picked Ambrom up by the scruff of his neck and taken him with me.
And Ambrom's just sitting on a fucking sitting on a barrel, like two fists holding, just like he's
glowing, ignoring you.
He's just like holding his fucking head on his fist, like, oh, look at me, I'm fucking Finrolder, I can fucking fly with a hammer. Oh, look at me, I'm divine fucking Waldy, I'm gonna fly with my little doggy with wings. Ah! And here I am. Fuck you, I am upset.
I like the idea that Aramin is just ignoring you, his eyes glowing as he does cool wizard stuff.
And then he just, shut up! Yes, Dad! Fuck's sakes, this is bullshit!
Either you shut up or I turn the storm around.
You won't do it!
Airman's just going to glare at him.
No, seriously, please don't do it. This whole city doesn't need to be washed away in a typhoon of hate, okay?
Airman's just going to mime a zip with his hand and then turn back towards the storm.
Ambrom, like, middle fingers, pulls down the lower part of his eye and just, look into my eye.
Airman's just going to ignore him and keep looking into the storm, trying to keep it on course.
Fair. With that, there is not much dialogue that has passed between the majority of you. However, it seems like the armored warrior is now speaking with an individual who is sitting at the front of this strange flying boat, which isn't entirely uncommon for you to see, considering the Griffon was also a flying vessel.
Right.
They seem to be kind of chatting with each other, just minorly, and you can hear the helmsman of this craft just saying, I'm going to pull up towards the Spire of Eternal Welcomes. It'll just be a brief period. And the armored warrior kind of nods.
At this point, I'm going to kind of crack my neck, just like, without using my hands, and I'm gonna heft my hammer up to my chest. I've had a really bad day.
You know, it'd really make the icing on the cake here is, are you guys from Aegir's Eyes?
I'm not certain how much I can talk of that event, but yes, we are.
I actually was looking for you guys. I was going to go down there myself to talk about my sword, in fact.
We were mainly dispatched as a means of gathering this strange straggler on the hull of our vessel. I am not up to date with the current plan of my people. That would be the Seers. So, if you would mind to allow me to do my job.
Is a part of your job flooding a city?
Certain events like these have unavoidable consequences. The rain that primitive city is suffering is no worse than any other sort.
Vulcanville is the gem of the North!
Say all you want, Snow Monkey.
Well, you're gonna die.
Oh, I'm going to, like, creak my head towards him. I will pick you up by the scruff of your neck and heave you into the mist below where you will never be seen again. I'd like to intimidate.
Go right ahead.
Snow monkey.
He ain't wrong. That's happened on multiple times.
I'm trying to find my intimidate macro. I may have misplaced it.
Creaks downs.
There it is. But I'd like to end my statement by walking up to him and just saying, and you know what? It would require no effort.
It's one of these things where you see this seasoned, armored, like, naval officer just kind of, like, shivering as you are growing larger and larger, like, looming over him. This individual is, like, speechless and just, like, drops almost to one knee before he recovers, nearly having blackened out, and just turns over to the helmsman. No more speeches, just get us where the fuck we need to go.
So at that point, I'm going to cross my arms and look at Kyra. I'm going to allow them to take us wherever we're going. I want to get to the bottom of this before I start cracking skulls.
That's fair.
So, with the manipulation of the instruments at the helmsman's command, the ship violently lurches and tries to fight the storm as it is breaking from its current course.
So while this happens, can Kyra just kind of casually look over what the elf is doing to see, hey, maybe I could do this if we need to?
Absolutely, you just kind of like want to watch over his shoulder.
Yeah.
You get a general idea that these controls are of an almost arcane nature. Like, there's no physical dials that he is manipulating. It is like a field of arcane energy that is radiated into this translucent board that he is applying pressure to. It seems like in order to steer and control this vessel, he is gripping thin air where, like, translucent bands seem to glow, and is genuinely almost moving it along with his own bodily motions. As well as certain other portions of these instruments cause this vessel to violently lurch in ways or other as if it were retracting fins on the sides of the vessel. You get a general sense from your engineering career that this craft, and craft of its kind, are very maneuverable and fast. However, you also get a sense that they might be kind of frail. Just in general. Judging from how Finralder cracked its hull with landing on it.
I mean, the three tenets of naval battle are speed, armor, and, guns, and you could only have two.
Right. So, after a short period... Actually, during the brief course of this flight, are there any others you wish to bring onto the Star Child? Anyone else we can go and pick up?
From Airman.
I'm afraid I don't recognize that. Could you point what direction they would be in?
I'm just gonna jerk a thumb back towards the Vulcanfield balcony.
Fair. Unfortunately, that is where the storm is heading hardest. It might take us quite a bit of effort to get there, but assuredly we can make it there, especially without the looming presence of imminent death via collision. So, breaking off, about 5 or 10 minutes as Airman you were playing with the storm as a child would be with blocks. There is a thin sliver of metal that begins to make itself present. Once it hits the smooth, calm air, it turns into less of a fish guiding through current and more of like a shark carving its own path. It reaches about the balcony, where immediately guards start firing upon it. Arrows splinter off of its hull, but seemingly it renders no practical effect.
So I would like to poke my head out with my helmet on, so I don't accidentally fucking one shot. And I'm just gonna wave my arms. Hold your fire for now.
Ambram's already like preparing like his halberd, like in front of Aramin. I'm like, Finrod, what the fuck are you doing? Did you steal this?
This is how you're going to board the ship to take it over.
I'm just going to kind of scratch the back of my helmeted head. No, well, I almost did, but I didn't.
Then who? Then who's flying?
An elf.
Ah, Jesus Christ! Today's about to be a really bad day, isn't it? Come.
It's already a bad day. It's gonna get worse. Come on.
Ambram scoops up fucking Aramin. Come on, buddy, don't.
Hey, hold on. I'm trying to knock that thing over.
You're
Aramin's like a kid playing a video game and his mom's dragging him out to the fucking to go on an errand.
Ambram like takes a running leap and just leaps across the gap into the hole.
Yeah, you easily cross over this boundary, and Aramin, to give you a final conclusion to this, as you are fighting with this craft, eventually you manage to gain the upper hold and just kind of violently push it. This thing glides thousands of feet before it careens into the side of a mountain face, and even from this distance you can hear the distant reverb as the sound catches you. It is carving a slice from the mountains.
Aramin's just going to scream, yes, impact!
You're almost worried that it might straight up, like, crash and collapse and perhaps bring some kind of, like, avalanche down. However, it quickly regains its bearings, pulling out. There is a portion of... You don't really have the true size comparison, but there is a portion of its hull that has just been scraped aside. Like, there are entire rooms and segments just missing.
Ambram, like, gets near Aramin. It's like, all right, buddy. We're being the kind guests here. Can you stop acting like a temperamental child in the presence?
Aramin's just going to glare at him and just
Please.
say... Yeah, you know what? Fuck it. Aramin's going to... Let's see, there it is. Plus 1d6. Probably not gonna do much, but...
Are you intimidating Ambram?
I'm just going to glare at him and just say, this is personal.
What do I roll against that?
Oh, we'll save. Oh. Christ.
Alright, slash... roll... Oh god.
There is a general sense of understanding between two beings of massive power. One that has just crashed a city-sized star vessel into the side of a mountain face, and one that has just kind of been watching this all happen, and you get a sense that let Aramin do his thing. That being said, the elf battle bus is leaving. Aramin, do you want to join us?
Yeah.
No, I grabbed Aramin. I fucking grabbed him, picked him up, and jumped into the ship with him.
Oh, I imagine that it's just kind of like one of those, let me do my thing, and Aramin's just going to kind of at least utilize that intimidate to garner your respect to the point where you let him go respectfully, and he boards the vessel himself.
That's the point. That's the point. Airman's like, the moment he tries to drag him off, he's gonna stare him down and just say, this is personal.
Without the presence of the caster, the storm begins to subside back into its normal effects, and the Star Child just kind of gently takes its original position, having been worse for the wearer with tackling mage. With this, the skimmer departs, and you all are given this just awkward period of silence.
Well, it's not awkward for me. I'm fuming.
Airman's
Awkward for everyone else.
Airman's going to walk into that spaceship like he had just won the lottery. Nah, every time Airman has used that spell against someone, it has been broken, or turned against him, or made worse. And this time, he has won!
So,
Right.
question.
Yes.
If we're entering this now, does the inside of this look a lot like the one we found in the desert?
So it is definitely different from the architecture inside of the fortress of the desert. However, whenever you entered the ancient ruins, where those constructs were dwelling, it is very heavily reminiscent of that architecture. This is definitely something of an ancient civilization. It is technologically advanced compared to anything that this planet has to offer, save for maybe vessels that entered this planet's atmosphere during the Starfall.
I see.
That is the general gist that you were getting from this. It is ancient beyond measure, but definitely possessing a technological superiority.
What I need
With
to
that-
roll, I'm gonna try to, like, the moment I hop on there and recognizing this ship is very similar to the one I just knocked into a mountain, I'm going to take one look and see that it's elves, and I'm gonna try to out-pompous the elves.
Oh god.
What do I need to roll?
Are you, like, straight up pigeons, like, pushing out your chest, just being like, I'm the boss of this ship?
No, I am going to look as smug and happy as myself as possible.
You
And
don't have to
kinda...
roll anything, you just gotta say you look smug.
Okay, I'm just going to make sure the elves know it.
The helmsman, which you are making blatantly apparent as he is trying to pilot this ship, mind you, just kind of like catches you out of the corner of his eye, looks over, almost seems to judge your expression for a second before darting back to his control board. It is.
Stupid monkey.
Can Airman hear the primitives?
Yeah, he's muttering under his breath.
What does he say?
Your turn to scare the elves.
Hey,
Yep.
hey, Ambram
Airman's
can
going
understand any spoken language.
Yep. Airman's going to re-roll his intimidate, and just say, this elf or this primitive just knocked your damn ship into a mountain.
Do any of them speak a different language? Are they speaking another
Airman-
language?
Airman's just going to get a really evil grin. Just
For
say,
the
you try to
moment, they are
wash me
speaking
off a
in
mountain. Yeah, Airman's going to turn around and speak Sylvan. Try to wash me off a mountain, I knock you into it.
Do you understand Elven?
I
Elven and Sylvan are two different things. They're very
Yes.
similar. Okay,
Yes.
so you're gonna say it in Elven?
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough. I didn't realize you were the one that did that. Thank you, by the way. I'll keep that in mind.
Ambram pipes up. You're welcome.
Yeah, Airman's
you
just
guys
going...
had your heads shoved so far up your asses, maybe you could smell that you're dealing with something a bit more... What's the word I'm looking for? Dangerous than primitives.
At this point, like, the entirety of this crew, having been, like, repeatedly scared, is now avoiding contact with you, is trying to focus on their jobs, and is just
Aaron has his
desperately trying
head
to get to one
into
of the
his
docking
hands at this
squadrons.
point.
Mission
Just kind of
Eventually, this fish-like ship sort of settles into a pattern, rotating around, seemingly...
Good question.
Yeah.
Control weather lasts for hours. I'm going to just be, once again, rather happy with myself and directly make a path for them to fly directly back, clear and calm as possible. Airman's just, Aramin's just gonna be like, well, since you took the risk getting here, I might as well help you out, and just kind of snap his fingers a bit.
He doesn't say anything, but the helmsman is sweating, and the officer has left this deck.
Yep, Aramin's just going to sit very happy with himself. He finally won.
Eventually, this creation settles onto a small platform that's seemingly built for it, these struts coming up and caressing the whole of this now damaged transport. At that point, the officer enters the same deck that you all are basically present on, and puts a hand against a panel that is flush with the rest of the ship, which quickly glows with arcane energy before it retracts. And you are left with a reigning platform on the top of this vessel. Currently awaiting you are two figures that are about double the size of a normal person, sculpted out of strange alien-like metal, holding very large weapons, seemingly glaives of a kind. Their cloaks are kind of folding in the winds, and just between them appear to be two cloaked individuals, one of which you recognize, Brian.
Yes?
One of the cloaked elven figures, and you can kind of make out the same saber that had dueled you on the cliff top.
Oh.
The one that had awakened your powers is now awaiting you.
So yeah, I guess I will just approach and so recognizing this man with the saber, I'm not really gonna be kind of speechless at that.
He has earned your
because
respect.
now I'm questioning, like, this man was the one who awakened my power, and he is also tied in with this huge ship that has appeared over Vulcanfjell. So I'm not entirely sure what to make of this place's intentions now.
So, as you stride from the skimmer, you quickly hear the officer just give an order to depart from the spire, get away from this place. And the door shuts, and the skimmer quickly, you hear this almost burning of its arcane engines as it leaves its little docking platform and disappears into the storm. It wants nothing to do with any of you guys anymore.
Good.
And with that, with rain pittering all around you, getting you all drenched again, because you had just had that brief reprieve from the storm, you approach this ensemble of four figures. The two being the large constructs, and the other two being the two cloaked figures. So, it seems that fate has brought us together again. Fate has brought us together.
What are your intentions?
If you do not mind, I wish to explain out of this horrendous weather. So, please accompany me. Do not be worried by my bodyguards. They are here for my protection as much as they are yours.
Without a word, I'm gonna follow him.
I'm going to follow behind.
You fall in this
Kind of
general...
almost relieved that we're almost to a understand. We're at less adversarial at this point. We're not at cutthroat anymore.
You follow this individual through many space.
Fuck you.
Plenty of empty regions within this crap.
Within this crap.
Seemingly depopulated for a vessel of its size, almost ghostly. Most of these halls look as if they have recently been drained of water. In fact, you find collections of barnacles just kind of on certain clusters and walls, signs of evident water damage as you are making your way. Eventually, you make it to a sort of smaller section, which...
Jordan's gonna pluck off one of the barnacles and put... He can't put it in his bag of holding because it's still sealed off.
So you put it in like a pocket?
Yes.
It's just a barnacle.
You find a barnacle and you put it in your pocket. You rip it off of the wall.
Pocket barnacle.
Pocket barnacle.
Destroy
You touch it and you immediately get sucked up into the ceiling.
Destroy
going to
them all,
purposely keep
Morty.
away any crabs from Mordhold if he was with us.
Destroy them all, Morty. Corrupt them all.
I still like how he fucking got owned by a crab.
God. So, he seems to come to a stop. Looks about, almost as if he were observing things that were invisible to the rest of your eyes. I think this area will work nicely. In this sparse, empty environment, he flicks one of his fingers, just kind of like snapping, and with that residual arcane energy, it sort of seeps into the environment. And you watch as it seems to reconfigure a table of sorts unfolding from the floor and displaying this elegant, ornate oval, along with a set of chairs. He quickly takes a seat in one of them, before beckoning for his second to take another seat, while the two ginormous, almost metal warriors stand to either side. This will make a doable place of conversation. So please, I'm sure you have many questions, and I will attempt to answer them to the best of my abilities.
So with that, I'm gonna approach this table and lean over it, planting my hands down on the table, and I'm gonna look this guy in the eyes. You were the one responsible for awakening my power. You have a connection with the gods, if not a projection of the Allfather himself. This is undeniable. Yet, knowing that, you still bring this thing over Vulcanfjell. What are your intentions?
My intentions are to walk the Skyne that best benefit our race. In this particular circumstance, we were to aid you. Certain things cannot be deciphered. Certain risks must be taken. The path that led you here was blurry, to say the least, and its conclusion even fuzzier. We had entire teams of seers attempting to decipher what truly would come of the event between you and the Dragon Queen. We did not expect it would turn out like this. He seems to almost be like reading your aura, which is kind of creepy in an almost mind reader sense. Seems the two of you came to an agreement, and you set your mind to serve the throne. Maybe even become the seat of power. It's unexpected, I will admit.
Well, what's coming? There's no other way.
I'm trying to put this into a...
I'm gonna cut him off, and if I recall correctly, it was you who told me not to fail the gods. Is this not what they want?
I'm not attempting to punish you for your behavior. This is unexpected and certainly pleasing. I had intended to avoid violence or keep it to a minimum. Let me find another way to rephrase this in a way that doesn't offend you.
That's a sense motive.
We were here to ensure that you would succeed, for your role in fate is vital. There was potential, if you were to come into conflict with the Dragon Queen, that she would have been too powerful an opponent for you. There was also potential for a much darker force to rise. However, it seems that the best of the current events have truly come to pass. And this vessel, although it wasn't needed, was certainly the best precaution, and a test to truly evaluate its abilities.
So if I stood against the Dragon Queen,
We would have aided you.
Well,
why?
As I had said before, discussing the Skyne is difficult to those not of our profession. You are important. And he kind of holds out both hands, which possess no gloves, and you can see his pallorly flesh underneath.
So, seeing
An
him do
avatar of
this,
fate.
I kind of shake my head. Not just me.
All of you.
Oh great, Fate's friend. Nope.
Dylan
Terrible.
is going to take off his sword and put on table.
So is it this point? I back
Sheath
away.
and all.
I back away from the table. I take my hands off of it. I kind of look up and then I take a measure of the room before sitting down at the table to actually discuss things with this man. And I'm just going to say, I know there are dark forces at play. The Abyss made its presence known at Rivenyorth. When you say we avoided something darker, is there something more I need to know about?
There are things I am not at liberty to discuss. Informing you of what may have been will only serve cloud your purpose.
What may have been. So this is something that may never come to pass now that it's been averted.
I think he's trying to mean that if he tells you something that, may have happened and it may have appealed to you.
I am trying to be as sensitive about this topic as I can. The most basic lessons of the seer profession is to not share too much with outsiders, for it can affect the course and flow of fate. If I were to inform you of what may have been, it could potentially alter the future in a way that negatively benefits us. It's best to keep things as they are now. The sky is already difficult to interpret. Do not need to make it worse. So please, we are
just
here
going
to
to
help.
I am inclined to believe that since you are the one who awoken my powers, you're telling the truth that you were ready to stand with me. Your intentions up to this point seem to add up. What I want to know are what are your intentions moving forward.
Well, at this current teetering point, you all are left without means of transportation, as well as lacking a military ally due to that very same lack of transportation.
Aye, true enough.
There is a conflict being waged in distant lands. It rivals the scale of perhaps any that have come before it. You are going to need some way to influence that outcome. If you were to travel there by foot, it would have already transpired, and there would have been no way to stop it. With us, you have options.
Aramin, weren't we able to teleport not long ago?
That
Airman's
was
just
closed off.
Yeah, Airman's going to say due to a war on the inside of a planet, they closed off all sort of planar travel.
Did you say the inside of the planets?
It's been a busy few days.
I believe it's
I
more.
couldn't remember if that was before or after I found out.
Didn't you say it was didn't you say it was a
The
war?
center of the world.
Yeah, I forgot the name of it.
The phrase, the city at the center of the world, is a metaphor. Don't tell me that you literally interpreted that to be the city at the center of the planet.
It's kind of like...
It's going to hold up his hand.
You know when someone's the center of attention? I thought that's kind of what that meant.
It was.
I wasn't meaning it literal.
Okay, getting us straight from this point.
God.
You're dealing with a bunch of idiots. I'm an idiot.
Speak for yourself, I'm a genius.
Yeah, Morty, speak for yourself. I'm a fucking genius.
Exasperated.
I apologize for lack of my people's attendance. I am going to be the representative in this matter, and most of them are not inclined to meet you.
Can you apologize for their rudeness as well?
Rudeness?
Yeah, they're kind of dicks, to be honest.
Typical elven arrogance. I don't expect an apology.
I will apologize for any offense that you might have taken.
Airman's also going to look up and I'm sorry for breaking your ship.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah. Now that you were actually here to help and I did, not trying to wash us off the mountain for fun. Yeah, I apologize.
Well, given that you
Are
seem
you the
like...
one that caused the Star Child to lurch?
There's an
Aramin's
entire
just
thing
going-
called envoys, right? You don't just show up in full force on the doorstep of a city and expect to be treated nicely. You know, you could have sent
Well,
somebody ahead of time.
they were thinking that we were going to meet mid-battle, so there's that. So, but yes,
We did our best to arrive in the manner that would most benefit us.
I really hate to give elves the benefit of a doubt, but given they assumed I might have to fight with the Dragon Queen, they probably had this set up ready to go,
Yeah.
and there was no turning back once it was.
yeah. Sorry about that. Airman's
Once you
just going
task
to.
a force to a purpose, there's no real negating the wave. But are you telling me that you are the one that caused the Star Child to lurch?
Yes.
Kind
In
of
coming
blink a few
days,
times.
I will show you the destruction that you have caused. But for now, I'm going to gloss over that factor.
Airman's
Yeah,
just going
we
to.
have more immediate matters to discuss.
But Airman also decided to kind of pipe up. But you got to see what your ship was capable of, yes?
I can't believe you.
I just kind of exhale and like pinch the bridge of my nose and close my eyes. Araman.
How about we just.
At this point, I look back up at the elf. So, since I now know you are indeed a real thing and not just a projection of a divine being, do you have a name?
My name is Farson, and you may refer to me
Alright.
as such.
I'm sure you already know who we are, so I'm going to skip that part.
It will not make much of a difference, but as I am introducing myself, I will also introduce my apprentice.
I'm gonna.
This is Nimi. She is a warlock training under me.
I'll briefly nod and then look back at Farson.
She simply nods.
Airman's going to kind of. You know what? Airman's going to use detect magic to see if he can't identify who her pact master is.
Pact Master?
Or the master of her pact? The one, she's a warlock, so wouldn't she be...
That's a D&D thing, my friend.
Oh, wrong one. My bad. But she-
Warlock is just a turn of phrase of basically saying wizard or sorcerer.
At this point, I'm going to continue with these negotiations of sorts. Now, given you are presenting yourself as a military ally, there is the matter of Aegir's eyes and the ships vanishing near its coast.
I figured this conversation would turn to that. So, go ahead. Bring up your points.
I was told by one of your number, a silver dragon, I believe, that your organization has a vested interest in keeping the Brother War going, so that we're just too distracted to be a threat. I cannot abide your continuing support of this war. In fact, once I take the throne, one of my main objectives after pushing back the tide of the Abyss and ensuring the longevity of Norderna is going to be to end the strife. And I need an assurance that your people are not going to be aiding and abetting our enemies in order to perpetuate the war.
Are you referring to a silver dragon that was prowling the coast of Aegir's Eyes?
Yes.
One that found a seemingly stranded party just
I nod my
path?
head as he says this.
So I have Avron to thank for almost sending our empire into another war that it doesn't need. No, I assure you that the Academy of Telerai is not aiding your enemies. We take a neutral stance to the war, although we have influenced certain things to keep our presence unknown. We're not committing ourselves to either side. We want to live here as much as you do. This is quite literally one of the few bastions that remain friendly to the Eldari, and we do not seek to soil our relations by provoking it. We actually had a fair standing with Queen Dreki to avoid our territory, and ships sailed through Aegir's waters. or deemed to not be serving under her flag.
Well, this is something I'm going to have to discuss with my mother moving forward.
I certainly would hope so. And he kind of turns over to you. Please, speak.
No, I was asking
free.
the DM.
No, go ahead.
Would I recognize that specific name? Referring to elves as Eldari.
It is definitely... They have a lot of names for themselves, like the Children of Light, or the Firstborn Sons, or literal Star Children.
They're not the Warhammer elves.
They're not, like, Warhammer elves.
I don't know. They showed up in a fucking craft world.
Fair enough. I get that.
Okay.
You can think of them in your mind as Craftworld Eldari.
Kieran is
Which,
going...
by the way, I should mention, Eldar is not a Warhammer thing.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I know. But,
I believe that it was first referenced in, like, Tolkien lore.
Really? Okay.
Eldar means something along the lines of Children of Light, or Children of the Stars, or something.
Okay.
that just makes Airman's whole shenanigan.
I was just curious because the way you described the ship is like, this is a fucking craft world.
I draw a lot of inspiration from Warhammer. Bite me.
I can't. So do I. Ambram. He's a fucking custody. Yeah. But anyway.
Back onto a conversation.
Fine.
I would advise that you have a chat with your mother. I'm
That's
sorry,
going-
that gives me a bit of a funny feeling, a dragon
well.
copulating with a human.
I kind of blink at this, and the mental image of my father fucking a dragon flashes through my head for a brief moment.
Is that not strange?
Before I uncork my meat and take a really long swig.
Airman's also gonna hold his hand out.
I hand it to Airman. Let's not talk about that.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Kieran is going to
Fine. So
speak
I'll
up.
have to sit down.
How does that
with my
even
feet and
work?
figure out- Shut up!
Like,
I'm not making you think of your parents having sex.
my mother and father were just human.
Enough. Airman's just going to say, we have more important stuff to do.
Okay, fair enough.
Alright.
Okay. Right.
So, I have a question.
I'm gonna kind of rapidly slap myself in the face a few times to get back into the game.
Kieran
It
is
is.
going to say, I want a straight answer. Were your people the crafters of this sword? He says as he unsheathes it onto his table, blade flat.
He kind of like looks over it and you
I-
see this general sense of confusion.
I raise an eyebrow and I say, Morty Dostostikab is a dwarven name.
I don't know these days. Apparently I don't know my connections anymore. My brain's so fogged up with all these different memories and vague feelings about everything. I don't
See,
know.
maybe for your quest, you take that thing down to the artificer and start there.
That might be.
I am afraid that I do not possess all of the knowledge of my people. However, I can arrange to have our best artificers look at that blade and determine its origin.
It's connected with that portal you collected in Minkai.
Portal?
The gates to
Elysium.
Elysium. Yes, thanks.
Ah, well, clearly the Great Seer is conducting operations in shadow, and has not seen fit to inform me of this.
Since we're asking crackpot questions and this ship looks awfully familiar, does the name Aida mean anything to you?
Aida. No, but I would point you in the same direction. If you were looking for knowledge or history, perhaps I could point you to whatever archives that we salvaged from Telerai. Or perhaps even bring some over, if that is what you're interested in.
Oh, I got a feeling it's history that's not quite yet happened, but anyway.
What?
Don't worry about it.
I'll try not to.
Since we have your stance on the war straightened out, and the situation of vanishing ships is something I'll have to have a conversation with Dreki over. Moving on, you mentioned military support. I take it you don't mean for the strife, since you claim neutrality.
To be quite frank, I was expecting some notable individuals to have joined us in our council. If you do not mind, I will allow you a moment to discuss what is going on. I am going to go ahead and seek out my superiors.
Very well. Gives me time
You,
to take a leak.
you have questions I do not possess the answers to.
Go and fetch them then.
I will be a moment. Thank you. He gets up, and with that, you see the chair collapse underneath him, and Nini also stands up, sort of just taking possession of these two large warriors,
So
as they
at
both
that-
give a brief nod before passing the both of you.
Once the party's alone, I'm just gonna lean back in my chair. Son of a bitch.
There is this strange feeling, though. It's the same feeling that's evoked whenever you see the presence of those giant warriors. As its eyeless face passes yours, and its almost huge head sort of makes contact with your eyes, there's almost this spectral feeling. There's a bit of goosebumps before they both leave and exit the door.
Well, that's how it was. My mother's behind the vanishing ships. She had an agreement with them. Damn it all to hell. I'm going to find somewhere I can take a piss.
By which I mean I'm actually gonna go to the bathroom.
Kieran's going to follow Finrolder and find somewhere to do the same.
I also need to use the restroom. Has everyone arrived? Cool.
I'm here.
I have an iced coffee.
Okay, I'm back.
Fair.
Okay, I'm back.
Makes sense.
Take it, other people also went to, answer the call of nature.
Yes, did that as well as getting some drinks. I told Malachi this, but I have an iced coffee. It is delicious.
Yeah, I need to go drink a boost.
I'm going to set to gathering some art, and then got individuals. I'm going to write up.
Yeah, I hope you don't mind me during the whole storm thing.
I do not care. You do you.
I'm hanging on to all of my hero points.
Oh, I had a feeling, but well, it was more of a personal thing, and I wanted
Yeah, I get it.
for once Airman to actually use that spell and not have it collapse under him.
You are level 19, bordering 20 now.
Mhm.
Alright, Daddy's back.
Now I need to go do something else that's worthy of earning a hero point, because I need to. I need to be able to cheat death.
Cheat death. Cheat death.
Stop! I sacrificed my life for Pakistan!
Oh no.
My life for Pakistan! Araman just rips open his fucking turban, like rips open his shirt. He just suddenly wearing a turban out of fucking nowhere. His muscled, chest is just packed full of enough explosives to level 3 square blocks. My life for Pakistan!
I love Pakistan!
And in that moment, Araman committed the final act of jihad, killing as many Eldar as possible, crashing the ship into the mountain. Thus, there was a massive nuclear explosion, and everyone died. The end.
I would totally join a jihad against the elves.
You know, like if I ever I was thinking about playing like an artificer character at one point whose sole goal was to build a big enough explosive to be able to take a continent out. That was his life's mission, is to create the most ultimate explosion that everyone will talk about till the end of time.
You are actually a terrorist.
A bang that is big.
No, not just a bang, it's the bang.
A bang so big it literally creates an entire another realm of existence.
Yeah. If you watch Naruto, whenever you were younger, Datara, by far, who thought the most amazing form of art was an explosion. Yeah, I was gonna run with that.
Fucking weeb.
Not gonna lie, whenever I was going through high school and all that, yeah, most certainly.
Wasn't that the guy that had mouths on his hands?
Yes.
Yeah, art is an explosion.
Art is an
This is
explosion.
Straight up an alien city.
I am back.
Unpopulated alien city.
In an alien city, Airman almost committed genocide again.
I will
We can make
show
it
you.
abandoned.
I will show you the destruction you
We
have
will
wrought.
make it truly abandoned.
Well, I'm ready
Everyone's
for everyone
here.
else's.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here's thinking, maybe they'll give us a ride off this floating rock whenever, shit hits the fan.
That was the plan.
Hmm?
So, Finralder comes back from his piss.
Fair. It is about this time that Farson also returns, and by his side are two individuals. One clad in a lot of intricate little, gear, special baubles and just general jewelry and very expensive, ornate attire that does not suit a commoner of any sort. And the second to his side, aside from Nimi, his warlock, who is, behind him, There appears to be an individual about at Finrolder's stature, however a bit more lithe in figure, coated from head to toe in concealing alien-like armor. Sheath on his back appears to be a glaive of the same make as the larger warriors that had accompanied them before. However, it is sized for an individual of medium size, so it's not as big as the fucking statue's blades. Other things can be noted about these pairs. The armored warrior appears to bear this almost like thorn heraldry that kind of wraps around and etches into the edges of his plates on his armor, which doesn't seem to represent full plate, but instead something altogether more powerful. The two crimson eye guards appear to almost reflect those of crystals. There's no flesh exposed. This is a warrior through and through. As they enter the room, a entourage of assistants and minor technicians seem to follow in their wake, before one of them seems to call out. It almost makes Farson cringe at just the... It's the sheer rehearsal of a stifling and stale environment. Now entering the Archmagic Technician Silna Alberos and the Autarch Ashrin. And with that, Farson takes another seat. The so-said Autarch, the armored warrior, refuses to take a seat and merely stands with his arms crossed, while the Magic Technician Silma takes one of the empty seats and is quickly attended to by two artificers of a lower rank which seem to be tending to his needs. One has a almost deathly focus, and the other appears to be so old that he has, like, individuals tending to his every needs, being like his hands. So, I have brought two individuals who can be of assistance to the questions that you're attempting to ask. And first upon the matter was your inquiry to war.
You mentioned military aid. Given that you've declared neutrality in the strife, I'm assuming your military aid isn't for my throne. I'm gonna guess it's for our quest to find the Starstone. Am I wrong?
So at this point, the Autarch kind of cuts in. His voice has definitely got like a synthesized edge to it because it is uttered underneath a helmet that does not possess any kind of opening for his flesh. It depends on how far our aid extends. If the operations in the city at the center of the world go well, perhaps we can aid in your strife. Though,
Strange,
to be completely honest, I do not trust either of you.
Well, that makes two of us.
Ermin's just gonna sit there with a happy smile on his face.
As for your proposition of why it seems strange, soon we will be above the matters of petty primitives.
Ermin's just going to smile.
At this point, the magic
This
technician
stage,
seems to...
I am so fucking used to elven arrogance, I just roll my eyes at that statement.
At this point, the arch technician kind of peters in. Soon we will be gone of Telerai. Its purpose served, our people will once again return to the stars.
How soon?
Perhaps months, maybe the better half of a year. It depends on how much preparation we need before we leave.
So the vanishing ship problem may solve itself. Great. So, you're offering us military aid. You want to leave. You're offering
Indeed.
us transport off of Nordura. What does the Starstone mean to any of you?
It seems that all of them quiet down before Farson just kind of beckons back up. The Starstone was a relic of past ages, a method of deific ascension, but that was not its true purpose. It came here long before people used it for that of divine sorts. In truth, The Starstone is but a fragment of the Star Child. It's used to sit at the heart of our city, in the core of its engine. What we seek is the return of what was once ours, and the ability to leave this planet. It is clear that we are not welcome here. It is clear that our people are suffering, bordering on extinction. But with the recovery of the Starstone, and the Magitechnician cuts back in, with the recovery of the Starstone, the Star Child can be brought back up to its full capacity. It could act as a new host, a new home, and a new hope for our people. Away from the petty conflicts of this world.
I'm assuming, even if you go back up among the stars, there'll still be other people out there, and
The
considering
Otter cuts in among us.
that you will still find your troubles to be similar, but on a different scale. Here. If they all have the capacity of this, but that's for you to experience.
And I'm sure you already know we're also after the Starstone.
There is no coincidence of why we have come here. As I had said, you are important. When you
And if
set your mind to
we-
something, you get it done. And that is a trait that is admirable regardless of race or profession.
And we intend to use it to send one of our number to divinity to stand against the coming storm. I assume this would hamper your plans? Or no?
I am not quite sure. Silma? The old man quickly kind of peters out. I don't imagine that utilizing the core of our reactor would hamper our attempt to leave. It's done so in the past. It's more than capable of infusing someone with divine power. I don't see this as a problem.
One less thing in our way. Alright.
Well,
So let me just run down the list of things here. Maintaining neutrality in the strife. Offering us transport off Norderna so we can be on our way to the Starstone. Leaving the planet so
He kind
eventually
of
the
cuts in, just kind of putting his fist down in an almost chopping motion. Neutrality was a necessity. It was a means of survival.
I'm
You cut
not.
in that it was strange that we took a neutral stance. But
No, I
look
think
at
it's
us.
strange that you're offering to no longer be neutral.
Times ahead require decisive action, as my forefathers told. Whilst we didn't possess the means to influence this world for the better, now we possess that advantage. Do you see any other faction or individual that possesses power of equivalent to our people?
yes.
He kind of like narrows down the precision of a hawk bearing upon you, then speak.
There's a bunch of robot men out in the desert. They have ships
They're
similar like
down
this.
below, boy.
A bunch of robot men out in the desert. You sound like a schizo.
You are going to need to elaborate more than that.
A buried
to
ship, much like this one,
influence our decision.
posting vast
They-
amounts of intelligence, or like an archive of information.
Kieran is going to hit his head against the table. You do realize they are right below us, airmen.
No, not those ones.
They are the one and the same.
No, they weren't. Because you said whenever Malachi asked, this is all out of character. That is,
I'm pretty sure what I saw down there are the big monster. Big. I don't know how else to describe it, but monstrous size.
Levi, is this the same one from the
Creations.
desert? Or is this very similar to the one that buried one in the desert that the
What are you referring to?
The
remember when
ones
whenever we were at the village that they were controlling the sandstorm,
You
the
mean
robots?
the underground encampments?
Yeah, the one that had the
The city that was unearthing like ancient ruins? The ones that the giant figures strode from?
you remember
I
the
think
one, it was the one
I think Airman's
earlier.
bringing up the civilization of droids who made a new body for Morholt.
Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
Right.
There were ones that were also
So
extremely
that's what you're
technological.
going to try and convey to the Autarch?
Yes.
And Morty's claiming that that civilization is the same as this one, which I don't think
No,
is.
no, no. They were
It's our
trying to free the giant creations below. Those
Which
same
was
giant
ship.
creations that were freed are down below.
They're not below this one. This ship. Those weren't the same ones. Were they?
They are not the small ones, but the big
Finralder's
one.
gonna run a hand through his beard and just kind of
This
like.
is all out of character. That's why we're
Okay.
trying to. I'm
All
trying to
right.
get back.
I was just imagining fucking Morty and Airman fucking bickering about this non-fucking issue.
The reason why I'm saying this, I want to get my facts straight because I remember the people in the droids in the desert. They had that massive fucking archive, and I remember you explicitly telling me it went from basically being carved out to a massive facility of metal. And we were talking about it with the droid, and it said it was a ship of some type that came from the Starfall,
Okay.
and it had all those.
That is a more appropriate elaboration. Are you going to try and convey this to Ashran?
Yes.
He kind of listens to you for the moment. Well, the Black Star, as it is actually called in our people's names, is indeed a conquest that we will undertake. It rightfully belongs to our race, and the long since crazed descendants that are now inhabiting its carcass will be naught but fleas compared to the swords of the Pale King.
Either way, you
That's
asked.
your business. I'm not interested in sticking my dick into that particular hive.
Regardless, this conversation is quickly petering out of control.
I would
I
like
wish to
to
set some
just
kind of borders.
right.
So,
Okay, here's my
Oh.
main takeaway from all of this. You are leaving, which means the problem of my people's ships vanishing off Aegir's eyes is eventually going to stop within a year. I think this problem solves itself. That has been put to bed. Next thing on the agenda, your neutrality. Truth be told, once you're up in space, away from Norderna, I don't much care if you get involved in the war. But, given there's going to be an abyssal invasion and who knows what else coming with the end of the world, we wouldn't mind if you sent some assets to assist with that.
then what have you to give us in return? Risking our hides in exchange for those who have always despised us.
It's at this point I just kind of say, Farson said military aid would be offered. I assumed this was a gift, not a bargain.
A gift? As if your people have ever gifted anything to us.
Well,
given that
Tellerai isn't a smoking heap, it would seem to me that you did have a safe haven close to Norderna, no? At the cost of the lives of some of my people, no less.
The individual that strode into the Ghost Isles made their decision of their own merit, not of the Drekkies. If they ventured into the Ghost Isles, their lives are forfeit.
And how
Regardless, you can't say we've done nothing for you. That arrangement was made to keep you safe.
There's kind of like this fighting between logic and pride. You can tell that the Autarch does not want to cede anything to you.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, if you want to repay us by helping to drive off the demons, I mean, I wouldn't complain about that.
And Airman's also going to roll a diplomacy check. And, considering the circumstances, you could leave on a bed of goodwill with the rest of the people of this world. That way being remembered should you ever return.
You want the honest to the God's truth? The people of Norderna don't really hate elves. We hate Jotun.
We hit Jotnar.
That was a diplomacy roll.
Anyone who was going near Aegir's eyes, those were exploratory vessels. They didn't even know you existed. They weren't coming to kill you.
Really, if we tried to assume that every random person tries to kill us, well, we would just straight up attack. Wait a second.
Either way, Airman's going to try to use diplomacy, basically saying leaving on a bed of goodwill.
Come to think of it, I can't think of a single time there was a protracted conflict between Nordana and elves. We've had bigger problems.
I will leave this conversation open. I'm not rejecting your offer. I'm not accepting it.
And Airman's going to say,
Well, regardless, I will
will
sit on the throne of the North. And at that point, one of my, or perhaps my primary goal will be to stand against the Abyss. And with one of our ranks attaining godhood, we might just have a chance to stop this world from ending. Again. You may want to leave this world. We like it. And we aren't quite ready for the curtain call.
If
There
anything
is
less, you
valor
could
in your
use
warden
it.
attitude, and that is something I respect.
I
I
would
will
also,
leave this course open.
I give him a solemn nod.
I'm going to seek counsel. There are more to this than just agreements. I can't just marshal my forces and march against all of your enemies.
that is understandable as well. You have a duty to your own people. So, that's why
The
it's more of a
safety
partnership.
of our people first. Then we can
Well-
talk of vengeance and protection.
We'll help you get to that safety.
And,
Either way.
Airman's also going to have a little...
There
This
is
is in
a-
exchange for the
so-
Starstone, mind you.
Assuming that we get to use it for our purpose, it is then going to be returned to you.
Yep, I don't know about Airman attaining godhood. I don't think he's going to be the one
We'll
to do
have
it.
to discuss that amongst ourselves. I know
Someone who
it
has
cannot be me. I have a different fate.
Silmar, who has accepted a crystalline goblet and is drinking a red liquid that can be assumed to be wine, has been kind of like generally enjoying the vibe that's going on as like an old man that doesn't really give a shit anymore.
I love that kind of energy so much.
Yeah, it's
Before
pretty
his
good.
before his eye quickly gleans down to discuss the cabin and goes, "Oh my, is that what I think it is?"
I think it might be. I've been trying to search the origins. I heard rumors that it might have been forged at Ager's eyes.
May I?
Kieran's going to slide it over.
It seems to gently float into his grasp before he gently settles it on the tips of his fingers, his left hand kind of cradling the handle, his right hand gently on the flat of the blade. He seems to give it a good look over with his wrinkled face, which must mean that this elf is ancient. I recall artifacts like this long ago. This was originally one of the blades of our fabled Holy King.
The
It was
other
crafted by his hand, matter of fact.
Kieran is listening intently.
Oh, but you wouldn't want to listen to such ancient legends. They'd surely drive you to sleep.
No, I've been driven awake for a few sleepless nights trying to figure out my goals. I think I might have a part of the ancient spirit of your king, if he's the one forging.
Don't be preposterous. The king himself is his own entity.
Kieran is going to try to think back and close his eyes and focus on a specific event that the king would probably know. You said the White King, yes?
The Pale King,
Pale
yes.
Oh boy.
Kieran's going to take a moment and try to search that and all of the vague feelings he knows in deepest soul.
Wouldn't he have to make like a knowledge? And what would it
Well,
be?
Tyler,
Yes.
go ahead and give me a charisma check. Why the fuck not? Your sheer force of personality, you are searching the deepest parts of your psyche.
Charisma. That's going to be a plus 11.
You
Oh,
will have
no.
to re-roll.
I'm
Man,
going reroll.
Lord help you.
this,
Fuck it, no reroll. You're spending a hero point?
Yes.
It goes through.
yes.
So, I'm tired of people using hero points for rerolls and getting even worse rolls or equivalent rolls.
Yeah, it really is
It's
just
fucking, it's
tragic.
bullshit. So you're spending
Yeah.
that to automatically succeed, and I will allow this.
I can spend
Do I get one
fucking
back?
key points to force him to reroll.
I would
should've-
rather do that.
You should point that out. That way, you know.
Sorry, I thought my mic wasn't muted, but my mic was muted.
Nah, go ahead and spend your key point and allow him to reroll before we waste a hero.
Do I get one back?
For what?
Because
Your
remember I used
percentile?
two. Yeah.
It doesn't apply to the percentile.
Okay.
Alright. Lord, help me. That's a 20.
That is a 20. Okay. So, you scour every last option available to you, and going from one end of your mind palace to another, searching the vacant, empty walls. The most you catch are fragments, as if something were ripped from your perpetual cycle. Something was here. Was. And what little remains are these haunting echoes of regrets and mistaken pride.
Something's. Kieran is going to get a big shiver down his spine, visibly noticeable. Something's wrong. It feels like part of the soul is missing. Part of the radiant life has been ripped out of existence, left with hollow regret. Pride. Not in.
Strange. Maybe you'll think of it later on.
No. It feels like an external force has been.
In any case, to bore this council with stories of ancient mythology, I would rather avoid the topic if it could. Just know that this is a sort of ancient elven design.
And
Now you have two accounts. One of dwarves claiming it is theirs,
So-
one of elves claiming it is theirs.
I tried to stay out of these conversations that have nothing to do with our actual goals, but at this point, I'm gonna scratch my head. But the sword's called Destosticab. That's a dwarven name.
Perhaps that's its dwarven name, surely. However, if you look closer, and he kind of gently places one finger, keeping the blade suspended with his magic, before tracing his finger up along the edges of the blade. And it's kind of strange. You witness the outlines of the weapon just kind of begin to glow faintly. And these ancient sigils just begin to glow. What the most of you make out is like an old Elven. It's those of you with Elven as a language can barely make out what this says. You could make a linguistics check for me if you wish.
Oh boy.
I've taken more points in language to just relearn Elven again. So I'll make a point roll in that, even though I probably will fail.
Hot damn.
Linguistics has never failed me.
Oh, natural 20 again.
Damn. So, Tyler, as you are like reading into this and trying to identify, it kind of comes to you that the general gist of the name of this item is the Sword of the Celestial King. Kyra kind of adds like an addendum to this and adds on that it's not just the Sword of the Celestial King, but the icon of the Celestial King, meaning that this is his brand or his symbol of rulership.
More to that blade than meets the eye, it would seem.
More wrapped in mystery and riddles than anything I've seen in a while.
I mean, if the dwarves took it from them at some point, of course they're going to brand it as their own. They're too prideful.
Oh, I love them.
Hello, pot, meat kettle.
Short and stumpy, just like their tails. And quickly moves the blade out of the general periphery. I believe we have other things to talk about. Do any of you have questions? Something that I have more expertise in.
Logistically, where is this city going to remain? Surely you aren't just going to pocket of a Vulcanville for the next year.
Well, it depends on the current extent of the damage that was suffered. But
Sorry.
I imagine in the next few days we could set sail for a new region.
Though, Finralder leans back.
Preferably something away from prying eyes.
Finralder leans back and kind of strokes his beard. If you do intend to stay over Vulcanville, that would be an excellent deterrent against invaders.
Your people wouldn't mind a city floating above theirs?
I think the bigger issue is the constant rainstorm that's been brought with you.
Fucking dogs! Alright.
Not entirely sure. I imagine they probably aren't too happy with it right now.
There's not much we can do about that. This vessel was designed for primarily void-born environments. Being within the range of a planet means that it will unfortunately suffer storms. And
Vulcanville has stood for centuries without need of such display of force outwardly. If you intend to move, then that's probably for the better. Just a passing thought, though.
I'll take it into consideration.
Right. Well, I think we have everything squared away now.
First one kind of claps his hands together and goes, I'm so glad we could settle this peacefully. I had little hope when you all decided to spider monkey around one of our skimmer vessels, but hey, turns out things can go our way.
We didn't expect you.
Indeed, and once again, sorry, Herman's just gonna kind of hold up his hand.
And given that the air has been cleared about vanishing ships and your place in the strife, I'm content with just letting things be, since the issues I have with you will solve themselves.
And Airman's willing to, as long as they provide transport to and from the city, I don't mind staying a bit and helping with the damage.
Truly. Sure, we could always use a steady arcane hand, even if you are human.
Shut it, Morty!
Well,
really?
I'm not going to say
what descendant, what family do you come from?
Aramin's just going to kind of, I really don't talk about that side. My mother was, did not leave on good terms. Or, should I say, had good things to say, so I don't know much.
Well, I suppose that's for the better. Less race mixing, the better.
Wow, based.
Aramin's just going to, or just kind of laugh a bit. Either way, I'm willing to assist in repairs, since you guys were not trying to intentionally wipe out the city. Plus, I did have some things I would like to talk to some of the, leaders about the stuff to happen in the future. I would like to ask a favor.
I reckon it's
Ambrum gets down near leans down to Finrolder's ears, like, I think these guys are more racist than you.
that's. I'm gonna kind of dart my eyes to Ambrum. That's impressive.
I know.
Kieran is going to say, I would like to stay aboard and try to find more out about this sword I've been wielding. I also would like to access the realm in which that sword sends the fallen to, if possible.
Anything is possible.
I mean, the gods currently turned off all planar travel, so that's going to be a harder thing to do.
Among Us.
Thus,
I did not say that.
But you were thinking it.
Airman's just going to say, just off the top of his hands, or off the top of his head, quick question. You guys would more than likely know, is gold valuable among the stars?
Depending on where it's used. I have many pieces of jewelry that are made of gold. It certainly has a practical application for certain magic contracts.
Well,
Contracts.
Contrails.
Airman's just going to kind of nod and
Contrails!
I did
Put gold in the contrails. Seed the clouds.
They're putting gold in the chemtrails.
I'm tired of them putting gold in the water. It turned the frickin' frogs gay. Ambrum's face morphs into Alex Jones.
No.
Either way, Airman's going to
Breakaway civilization.
I hate the Antichrist.
Either way, Airman's going to look at some of the leadership and be like, I would like to ask a favor. Perhaps even a future partnership. In the for the future, it would be something.
Both of them just kind of look to each other before Farson breaks the awkward silence, and we'll get to that later, I assure you. But for now, feel free to stay aboard the Star Child while we discuss these matters further. With that, is this meeting adjourned?
I want to know when we're leaving. And where to. If we're heading for the Starstone, I assume that's not back home in Riddleport.
No, we would be heading to Absalom.
And when are we departing?
We could depart from anywhere. I suppose the actual wind-up and preparation for such course would take days. So, at minimum, days.
Then we'll have time to wrap up a few final things here.
I'm not educated in how precisely our world engines work. That'd be Salmar's domain. Days? Likely days. 2 or 3. Unless it's windy, in which case it's 4. Or 2 if there's good weather.
So 4 days.
Honestly, I'm surprised we got this thing into the air.
Kieran is going to look over wide-eyed.
Well, ain't that just something to fill you with confidence?
I'm amazed that you guys still managed to make it so far, and you're not even sure how you did it yourself.
Most of this is humor. I have a great knowledge of these great holes. But in truth, it will take the better half of a week.
If that's the case, I have time to get things settled down there.
Either way, I'm sticking around and help fixing up some of the damage I've done. So,
take your time. We will be ready. I'm going to go have a chat with my war council. Farson, see them out or see them to a place of temporary residence. Yotart walks away. He hadn't taken a seat.
Kieran is going to go over and grab the sword, kind of slightly possessive over it.
It's mine. The one ring to rule them all.
It's more or less the one ring to rule the nine.
So, with Selmar now pretty intoxicated, hence his strange and humorous attitude. Not to mention he's an old man that doesn't give a shit.
Either
He's just
way,
going to stay here, enjoy his drink, perhaps chat with a few of his attendants, seemingly now dominating the space. What do the rest of you want to do? Farson is willing to show you two temporary accommodations, or see you to an exit, that way you can return to your people.
Darren's going to
Eagle Rock.
look. Darren's going to look for a temporary residence for now, knowing
Fair
that
enough. It's
his
time
place is
to
not really.
split the party. What does Kyra want to do?
Well, that's honestly a good question, because these elves are, well, they're elves, for one, and we just hate elves. But two,
Hate
I
elves! Hate
suppose
elves!
the one thing that would pique her interest the most is, Magitech.
Certainly.
As in, oh, I consider myself a scholar as well.
Do you want to spend some time studying this place, maybe looking around for artifacts?
Sure, yeah, that sounds appropriate.
Fair. So, with that, was Airman's also going to find temporary residence?
Mm-hmm.
Alright. So, go ahead and pick one member for Team Starship, and Finralder, you will be the leader of Team Eagle Rock.
Okay.
Go ahead and roll initiative checks for me to decide who gets to play their
Sounds-
stuff out first.
Sounds good.
I say
I kind, you know what?
Preparation.
I will let them do it. I'll let them go because I really need to go to the fucking bathroom.
Fair.
So I'm gonna cede my initiative check. They win.
Alright.
I'll be back.
So, my friends, which of the three events do you want to proceed with? Which ones do you want to start with?
I'd say let's let Kyra do her magic tech thing.
Okay.
Then we
Fair
may
enough.
then we may move to mine, then Airman, seeing as he's going to be working on it all the days.
Alrighty.
For the most part, I'm still wanting to talk to like one of the upper people.
What skill are you wanting to use to peruse this ancient vessel?
Well, I mean, I suppose. Ah, that's very. So, Magitech, hear me out here. I would like to use the, hold on, what is the downside to this event? Hold on. I'm looking at the mythic, I'm looking through my stuff for the mythic thing. At a -5. Yeah, that sounds fair. At which point, let's see. I'm trying to think. Arcana could probably do for a substitute for engineering in this, considering Arcana, magic.
Yeah.
Well, actually, yeah. I mean, that would be fair. So let's try that at a 1d20 plus 25 -5 penalty plus 2d8. Keep highest. Wacha!
Whatcha! So, you spend the rest of this day just exploring this place, amidst the just towering halls and abandoned lodges of this area. Sometimes you come across certain minor artificers just kind of peeking through and kind of gazing about into the ruins. They're also conducting a thorough search of this vessel. It seemingly has been fresh arisen from the water. The actual engineers here are also surprised that it is floating. It is a lot more preserved than everybody seemed to have estimated it to be, and the fact that it is so intact means that it is rich with plunder to explore. Do you want to take this a more evil route and go stealthily and see if you can steal some stuff? Or do you just want to observe and record?
I think this is more of a scholarly pursuit, because I would not say I'm an evil person.
Fair.
Yeah.
Yet.
Yet. I mean, all vampires
Yeah.
become evil.
Yeah, that's fair.
Obviously. That's why I'm here, after all, is to be evil in the party.
Yeah,
I'm evil, nigga.
that makes sense. So, among us, we have 3 different routes for you to take your just kind of expeditions. There are certain sections that have a kind of like theme, especially in how they are developed. One seems to be leading down the path of some kind of vehicle.
Okay.
Another seems to be that of weaponry. And the last one seems to be that of armor. These are all kind of like basic diagrams and schematics that you have found that don't have anything of merit right now, but you can choose to dedicate yourself to one and actually get some kind of thorough read, get some kind of understanding of this technology.
Well, hot damn, I say I'm particularly partial because I seem to get around fine. I'm undead, so dying isn't too terribly bad. So, things that possibly go boom are of good importance, I would say.
There.
Besides, I don't have a gun right now, so maybe it'll help.
Perhaps.
Hot daily. That's enough.
So, along the lines of different weaponry, of course, there are ancient diagrams for swords and also patterns for weapons of a ranged sort. What general vibe are you looking for?
I mean, there is always the flavor of gun, which was so graciously given to me by some scholar years ago. And, I'm sure if one can be made, mayhaps another, if we're even able to make any of this stuff.
So, like a
And I
long
know
rifle?
somebody else also likes gun.
Fair. Comment has accompanied Van Rolder back to Eagle Rock. However, that is definitely something to point out. You do eventually find something a bit unorthodox and something a bit more reasonable. The first one appears to be a diagram that references some kind of like heavy repeating pattern. Some kind of larger weapon that perhaps may be unwieldy, and one that is much more suited to like long-range warfare. These are all like uncovered from different documents describing brief mentions and reports, as well as certain bits and pieces of schematics that you find.
Part of me really wishes I could take both.
That is a certain possibility if you keep exploring this place.
I will keep that in mind. But I would say from how I typically take things using Kyra and her expertise, let's explore the long range option.
Alright, so you go ahead and do that. So we will come back to that after Araman. You are going to spend the rest of this day attempting to repair the extensive damage that has been suffered to the Star Child.
Mending or using my other forms of magic.
Mending doesn't do too terribly much, however, it is going to be a long process in and of itself. The artificers that are...
I'm gonna go smoke a cigarette, I'll be right back.
The artificers that are currently kind of leading you around are just showing you the true extent of the damage as entire docking rings and like habitable quarters have been wiped away, like crushed and ground apart by the mountains.
Nice job, team!
More than one innocent archivist or like magic technician was caught in this resulting tide and was just ground to pieces. They're lost forever.
Yeah, the damage. Airman doesn't worry too much. About the innocent death, yeah, he kind of upset about that.
Yeah, considering that most elves considered this to be their last resort and their final home, a lot of innocent people are here.
Yeah.
Literally now.
Yeah, Airman's gonna feel bad about the lives, not the ship, but either way.
I love how in tabletop games you don't even have to act out your character feeling bad. You can just say Airman feels bad.
Airman feels bad.
Yeah.
So, the interesting thing about these people is that when they come to a damaged piece of their ship, they seem to almost put their hand to the nearby material enter a state of communion before energy seems to surge from some unknown source and a slow accumulation of new material begins to grow from the damaged components. It is
Airman's
a
going to
slow
watch
but
this.
steady process.
Airman's going to watch this and attempt to replicate it. He's going to use detect magic and a whole bunch of other things to see if he can't,
Fair. Go ahead and give me a spellcraft check.
I'm assuming I'm still with the artificers, right?
Yeah. A 55. So...
Let's make it a 60. Close, but no cigar.
Still 58. That is enough to tell you all you really need to know. So these individuals aren't necessarily just, conjuring new material out of thin air. What you soon discover is that for all of the physical weave that this ship possesses, there is a spiritual weave underneath it. This almost pure spiritual energy, that of bright white light. And they seem to call and commune with this vessel, kind of telling it to heal itself as if cells were healing a damaged body. The creepy part of it is that these energies seem to have voices whispered, like spirits and ghosts.
Oh, I know where you're coming from.
There is a sense of almost
like Eldar Titans.
Whenever these people are interacting with this material, as if they were speaking to long-dead kin.
Dude, that reminds me of how in Divinity the elven ancestor trees are literally just elves.
You were going for more like the Eldar Titans, right? How they...
Eldar Titans, dude. I read a lot of Eldar lore.
Yep, that's kind of like, that's what that's reminding me of.
I miss the days when Levi hated elves.
Sad.
Airman's going to look towards the
screw
artificer.
this. The engines magically cut out, you're all about to die.
Yeah, because elves suck at everything.
Death to elves.
They didn't even know how it was floating.
Airman's going to look over towards one of the artificers and just say, might I try to give it a try? Airman's just going to kind of think on the ones that actually got caught up in his his attack.
I would recommend you have more training before you attempt, and I see you're not take my opinion into consideration as you're already putting your hand next to the material.
Airman's going to, he's going to try it, and his only thought is forgive me and allow me to help repair the damage I've done.
Since you possess the witch sight, and you have the ability to commune with arcane energies, you feel this almost heavy, icy coat draw over you. And you realize as you are talking with these individuals, it is more like a cycle, like a loop of individuals talking with each other. And you hear things such as, "Asleep so long. What now?" Stuff as long as or stuff as such as whatever the fuck, I can't English today. But conversations that go along the lines of, am I really dead? Is this the afterlife? What's going on? Hello?
Airman's going
and as you're communing and talking to them, they all seem to be quieting down and paying attention to you.
Airman's just going to kind of focus on them and just say, just in general, he's going to focus heavily on his, the emotions of regret and the willingness to fix what he's done and just say, I understand if you're confused. It might not make sense, but if you would allow me to help heal the damage I've done to your people, I would appreciate it.
Fair.
And he's
you
just
try
going to
try to coordinate this. Go ahead and give me a diplomacy check as you were communing with the fucking deceased spirits on board this vessel.
And
27. 32. So, you seem to rally enough of them to your cause. Some of them seem genuinely sympathetic, others just mean to repair that which their people have lost. Soon enough, these damaged components seem to regenerate of their own volition, as you are guiding the dead to repair that of the living. So, with that, we go over to Tyler.
I just imagine like the artificer being, well, I'll be damned.
Motherfucker.
You want a
Kieran's is
job?
I want a job.
Kieran's going to seek out any way to enter the realm within his sword.
So you spend your time in dark corners being like, enter
No-
the sword, enter the
No,
sword.
no. He's going to seek out people that can help guide him into
I mean, I have one option
like
for you.
Oh no.
Kill yourself.
Kill
Now.
yourself. Kill yourself
No,
now.
no. Of course, I'm not going to do
You
it
should
that
kill
way.
yourself now.
I'm going
Go.
to seek out people who can actually manipulate the magics within the sword.
You should
And
seek out someone who can manipulate you into killing yourself.
Now.
Now.
Father's returned.
God, I wish you never came back.
Christ.
Who are we
So-
manipulating to kill themselves?
Tyler,
Morty.
go ahead and give me a diplomacy check.
all right. Here you go. Did it go through?
43. So, as you are exploring the great empty halls of this place, you stride upon domes of dead grass and ruined towers, going from room to room in search of somebody that can help you, talking with artificer upon artificer, who are mainly focused on the restoration of their future home. It almost seems hopeless. You eventually stumble onto what appears to be a graveyard of sorts, again on another dead field. Stones of crystal seem to jut up out of this landscape, giving a last landmark of the Eldar used to dwell here. As you are striding through these grave markers, fields of them, eventually you stop and just kind of take in the very true loss of these people. They've lost almost everything. Their original home, Keonan, their nation, was destroyed. Every elf on Telerai has lost someone, mostly all of their family. They've been cut off and put down, potentially facing actual extinction. And as you stop at one of the grave markers, just to kind of pay your respects, you are unaware of an individual who seems to have kind of drifted into this vision that you are sharing. Grim, isn't it?
Kieran's going to get a soft shiver as you look back. Yeah.
What you find is another of those almost large statue-like warriors. Instead of weapons, he seems to be garbed in a general cloak, though no other clothing adorns his form. It doesn't need it. It is a generalization of a humanoid form, not necessarily an exact replica of one. So, what is it that you are doing here in my dream, mortal?
Kieran's eyes going widen ever so slightly. I seek to knowledge about this sword, this burden I carry with me. I want to give peace to the souls that are trapped within it with no way out, not even through burning. I know this sword sends them to some sort of alternate plane. I seek entrance to this plane. This damnation your people's gone through, I can't help but feel partially responsible. I knew of the starfall, but I never knew of its consequences. I kept being pulled from one place to another. there's no. I should not dwell on what is. Best thing I can do now is seek what is best for the living now. And if I can do it, I'll seek peace for the souls as well.
You have vision. You have faith. What you lack is knowledge.
Yes.
Do you truly seek to help others? Or are you just a puppet of fate? Is this your decision, or the decision that was forced upon you?
I clearly did not choose this fate, but I can choose my reaction to it. And I choose to continue helping instead of creating more suffering. I do not want anyone to suffer. I've seen people suffer because of their own choices, because of their lack to adapt. I do not think I can save this world anymore, but what I can do is guide its future. And that's what I will do. I'll guide a better future for everyone here. Everyone, both on planet and your people.
Perhaps it would be better if we were all to perish. That way we may be treasured in death instead of suffering in life. The creature, this construct, kind of turns on its head and seems to look out onto the field of scattered crystal markers. What makes you so certain that this future is worth saving, guide?
As if there's ever pain, there's always joy that can come with knowledge of that pain. As much as pain can be used as a tool of destruction, it can be used as a tool as creation. You can build from that pain and help others grow as well. You can't. This world will suffer pain, but there's, with all the pain in the world, all the pain I've suffered, I would not take a minute away of that pain, even if it just meant I get moments of peace and clarity with others. Just even if just feeding someone, helping them get through day to day. There's small joys in this world that must never be overlooked. We must always be thankful for what we have, or else, well, you'll just face oblivion. And that's no better place, in my opinion.
His figure's clip blows in the breeze. It seems like he almost was lost partway through your speech. You remind me of my son, Fano. You may address me as the Wraithsmith Elwyn. I am one of the architects of this place, to shape it into purpose, protect our future. I recognize that blade. It is of ancient design. However, it has purpose here.
Karen's
Come.
going to tilt his head and follow behind.
So despite the fact that this thing is fucking massive, it makes nearly no noise as it is like stalking through the lands of the dead.
Karen's going to do something strange and put one of the moss that he found beside one of these graves as a mark of life.
Did you say mollusk?
The thing I grabbed earlier.
You're putting a barnacle next to a grave?
Huh.
That
That is a strange gesture.
It's if I had a flower, I would have done that instead, but I don't have flower on me. Like a marking of new life. Whatever.
Whether he shows signs of response to this, you're not necessarily certain. It's just something that you do and like kind of feel better about yourself for.
Yeah. I'm a strange creature.
Yeah.
You're a unit.
A unit.
A unit.
A unit.
In his mind, that fucking Eldar warrior. Silly monkey.
A stupid Monkai, foolish, primitive, disgusting snow ape. Anyway. Regardless, you are led across the fields of the dead, further into the heart of the Star Child, until eventually you enter an area kind of clouded with darkness, but Elwyn does not seem to mind. Eventually entering a near lifeless, just monumental chamber. He leads you up to a ridge, and kind of conjuring energies as he's walking about with his spectral form bound in this construct shell. Tools and devices begin to rise out of the featureless ground, and it becomes less lifeless and more like a grand chamber of creation, resembling almost a smith's station, however with tools much more advanced and just refined. Give to me the blade so that I may gaze upon it.
Kieran's going to hand over the blade, taking it out of its sheath.
This greatsword resembles practically nothing less than a gladius in the hands of this warrior. He sets it down on a very long, flat table that has just risen from this area, and seems to admire it for a good while. These were once keys, icons, symbols of rulership. They were given from the Pale King to his great knights. They were to uphold his tenets and build his kingdom in his godly name. And they served a twofold purpose: to endanger souls far too powerful to allow to remain upon the Materium, and also to collect offerings for the Star Child, to power her systems and lead our people into a prosperous future. It was used to grant mercies, he says as he turns and just kind of like levels his head to stare at you.
Kieran nods. I understand.
There is a method to transfer these souls into the Star Child. It is a long and complicated process, but it is possible.
I am listening.
If you wish to risk your life, I can. And he grabs it with one hand, holding it, like I said, like a gladius, as he turns to you. I can cut you down with your own sword. You may visit with the spirits, and perhaps be transferred into this vessel. You may find your way back to your body, but it is not guaranteed.
You...
Before you make your decision, know that death is a transitionary stage.
Kieran nods.
It's not something to be feared, nor something to be admired, as merely the passing of life unto death.
I have already made my mind up a while back. If this is the only method of entrance, he's going to hold out his arms in a T fashion. You may.
You T-pose upon Elwyn.
T-pose on this man. He's gonna take his great disgrace and kill you with another
Dude,
weapon.
imagine someone saying, "I can kill you," and you just T-pose on.
Your last words are, "Do it, pussy! Sing!"
So,
As fearless in death as he was in life.
Christ.
there are methods to make this more comfortable for yourself.
Kieran's going lower his arms.
He simply
Um,
extends one of his long, slender metal arms to kind of just gently put it on top of your head. You may kneel.
Kieran's going to kneel.
He kind of brushes the thumb against the back of your head, tilts yourself forward where your neck is exposed, and you don't even get enough time to contemplate your decision. Instead of witnessing your head roll to the floor, there's not even that moment. There's just a ghostly sensation, icy cold that spreads over you.
Morty just got
People in this regular world, this wraith construct just decapitates you.
If any
Morty's
of us
head
saw
is
this
quickly
happen,
parted from its shoulders.
just imagine if any of us saw this happen. No one would be living after we're done.
Dude, could you imagine if, like, no one but Morty could see this fucking wraith? And, like, Morty's just standing around and then his head pops clean off its shoulders within a fucking second with no warning.
Ambram's just sitting there. You feel that, Finrolder? Feels like someone's just made a very dumb decision. Huh. I just can't get it out of the back of my mind. Anyway, where were we going? Oh, yes, we're going this way.
So, Morty, you are dead.
You are dead.
You are dead, dead,
However,
dead.
You
That's
wake up
a Tom reference.
along a line of perfect stone, almost resembling marble in all directions.
I imagine it would match the description Solvara gave you.
It absolutely does. Nothing but almost a radiant sky. Almost this pitch white that kind of matches the same stone that you are treading upon. How long do you wander?
I'm going to take a moment and look for the radiant glow that she also spoke of, where the source of...
Before long, you eventually realize that, you can just generally look around and see a bright, glowing light in the distance.
I'm going...
Do you just want to make your journey for it?
I'm going to make my journey for it.
I think
So-
it's really appropriate that the guy who has spent the entire campaign condemning people to be trapped in a sword is now trapped in his own sword.
Day after day after day passes. You do not experience hunger or fatigue or thirst. Eventually, you grow so close to the light that you begin making out strange constructs floating amidst the air. Upon the beginning of the first half of your month-like journey, eventually you encounter a group of strange, shadowy figures. They don't have any response to any sensation, they merely drift and stand around. On the latter half... Oh, go ahead.
I take it I don't recognize any of them.
No, not particularly. These individuals are indistinct and fading.
Darren's going to move on, knowing that it's too late for them if they are this far gone.
Keep wandering, and keep wandering, growing closer and closer to the very construct that likely many taken the journey to. Eventually, you discover a group of shadow people, much like yourself now, I should mention. However, these ones, instead of standing around, are kind of like walking around talking to themselves, and as you grow closer, they begin running. Like they are fleeing to a safe haven of sorts, although this terrain is featureless.
Some of them probably recognize you.
Oh god! He's here!
going.
Green man is here!
I'm going to take a moment and try to see if I spot the tower that Savor described.
Eugen, barely making it out over the gleaming light, you do catch sight of one of the floating spires that make up that grand beacon. Do you just want to proceed forward?
I'm going to proceed forward at this point.
Days and days pass until eventually one of the cube constructs spot you.
Oh.
It is a harrowing and terrifying experience as this thing almost descends from these enlightened heavens, a dark steel-like structure as it begins to drop down. Its arms beginning to extend out. The head that seems to be attached to the front of its body, looking about and scanning for individuals before it locks onto you. What do you want to do?
Terrence is going to assume he has some control over this machine and say halt for a moment with his hand out.
As this thing's arm extends downward and attempts to enwrap you in these strange appendages, for lack of a better term,
His noodly appendage.
you utter the word halt. It seems to stop for a moment. Why?
Stop right there, criminal scum.
I seek the truth of my being, and I seek the truth of this sword.
What truth?
I was the wielder of this sword for the last few years. I seek to know what has happened to the souls that I have fallen. And I seek to be able to free them if possible. If they have chosen to repent from their ways.
Well, wielder of the sword, you shall soon discover the fate of those you have doomed to trap here. And the appendages start going for you.
Darren is going to move through them and continue towards the tower. He's going to dodge and weave and just...
Give me a reflex save.
Yeah.
$24.
That's
You quickly dodge the first few sets of these quickly extending appendages and just try to make your way onwards. Perhaps you think that it'll leave you alone once it's spotted you. Like I said, the first few sets you dodge pretty easily. You continue marching towards this light, and every once in a while these appendages reach out for you. It is a matter of days upon days upon days of just evading these arms until eventually one of them catches you by the plate of your left side. And you are quickly wrenched off of your feet, drug up into the air as more of them begin to latch onto your frame. What are you gonna do?
Darren's going to strengthen his will and force himself off to climb upon the machine itself, where it has trouble catching me.
Fair enough. Go ahead and give me a combat maneuver check. Fucking dog.
again.
You attempt to wrench yourself clear of this, and the other arm kind of comes down and begins to wrap around upon you. And you find that despite your struggling, despite your inner resolve, it just merely lifts you up to face its faceplate. The red, glowing slits upon its mask, just kind of displaying no real emotion. You wanted to know the fate of those you condemned to be here. Now experience it.
I was told there was individuals here that are left in peace in one of these spires. I seek to talk with those.
Me to your leader.
And Tyler gets soul vored.
Solvara did warn you that these things eat souls.
Yes. Do you know of the name Xeraxos? Or the... What was the name of the throne that she said?
The what?
The throne, the angel?
The administrator?
I would like to speak with the administrator in particular.
That sounds like a Karen thing to say.
What rights, what privilege do you speak with?
The privilege of the Pale King. His soul is melded with mine, if not partially removed. His memories are here. May I make a diplomacy for that?
Go right ahead. It keeps you suspended, almost like with this definite "I'm going to die" feeling piling in your guts, before it wordlessly reaches up towards the top of the cube and puts you on like a tiny hat. Turns wordlessly and begins making way for the Radiance. So, eventually you reach the same spiraling, mind-fracturing architecture, as well as a small orb of sorts that begins rapidly approaching. This, you can kind of hear the, breaking of atmospheric boundaries as this thing is basically tearing reality to its will in its attempt to manage these landscapes in a much more effective and quick manner. Before you eventually catch sight and realize the rotating, interlocking wheels of these eyes. With one last boom, it makes itself present and stops within a fraction of a second, just kind of letting this wind drift and just coalesce upon your plate. I believe I have been summoned.
Yes.
Who are you?
I believe I have part of the soul of the Pale King. I seek if this is true, and I seek more knowledge about myself.
Interesting. I haven't gotten many visitors of your kind before.
Yes.
He seems to gaze upon you, and for a moment you're left in pure terror as it grows to the size of about an elephant with all of these eyes, watching over you and studying every detail. Yes, part of a broken cycle, actually. I recall your kind.
We have been here before?
Not necessarily, but I understand your purpose.
I seek to know this purpose. Could you take me to where you could teach me?
Considering we'll have a lot of time to get to know each other, certainly.
Thank you.
With that, you take the journey to continue on, until eventually this cube stops at the boundaries of one of these large rotating platforms, and you and this creature begin just slowly making your way throughout the complex talking. You have questions? I have answers.
Why was this cycle made? How was it made?
Its original purpose was to facilitate a means of communication between primordial forces.
1 second,
Like-
my dad's calling.
Nice. I'll
Very
let you
cool.
answer your
And
phone
I don't
call.
know how much longer I'm going to be able to stay on because I
This
gotta
is
get
probably going to be the end, so feel free to depart when you feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Hi,
I got a
I'm
few
Tyler,
things I need
and
to do
I'm
before I go to
speaking
bed.
with a biblically accurate angel.
Hi, my name's Tyler. I just let a fucking wraith
You with
construct
many eyes.
decapitate me, and now
Yeah,
I'm speaking with an angel.
You know my favorite part about this entire thing?
I
I
got
think there's kind of been an unspoken like agreement that Tyler's probably going to be the one to like become the god, and
Yeah.
he just goes and gets himself killed
He'll pull through.
with no guarantee that he'll get back to his body.
Yeah,
None.
because
He just
think about it for a
fucking
minute.
does it.
Well, I hope we had a plan B for godhood.
No.
I'm sorry.
Here's the thing. The reason
It's a-
why we all voted Morty is because Ehrman, too flighty, does whatever fit a fancy. And Roller, someone would talk shit about him and he'd hear it and then, wipe out a country or something. Kyra's Kyra. Morty's
What
the
is
only
that
one with a
supposed to
level of
What's
What
that
is that
supposed to mean?
supposed to mean?
Okay, Kyra's kind of a wild card. Either she'll actually,
Yes.
help someone out, or suddenly all the silverware in the nation decide to disappear.
She
Am I wrong?
she goes to the beat of her own drum, thank you.
Yes. So Morty is the only one who has the moral obligation to actually, help people. He's the most,
That is true.
how
But
would I
what
say,
about a
But
god
now-
of beauty?
benevolent.
I like how you didn't even bring up Amber.
Because we know it's not a choice.
That-
It is
that-
not an option.
I think we all. It does not need to be explained. And Mournhold's trying to die. I don't think he needs to. He's gonna want to stick around to the end of time. But either way, I'm gonna bounce. Cheers, guys.
Yeah,
Goodbye,
see ya.
goodbye.
Alright, I have returned.
Very cool.
No.
So, to best answer your question requires a explanation of interplanar conflict.
I'm gonna take a leak again.
They're not and listen intently.
Many individuals understand that there are both inner and outer planes. Those of the outer representing bands of alignment, hell, the abyss, various parts of heaven, and so on and so forth. However, a less discussed topic of conversation are two primordial realms, two planes, one of negative energy and one of positive, one referred to as the void and the other as the radiance. It was inevitability that creatures would be spawned from this primordial birthing. The material realm is a great seeding for sentient life. Well,
Not.
two creatures were born with the capability to take possession of new bodies upon their expiration. Their purpose truly indecipherable. However, I suppose purpose is its own strange concept.
Right, I'm back.
That's the explanation of your origin. What other questions do you have?
Was the Pale King one of these creatures?
Absolutely. He was one of the original precursors. A primogenitor, if you will. An individual that started with this power, this possession, but through his own mind and intelligence, broke the pattern and became his own being. Does that answer your question?
Yes. So, what do you suppose will happen if these two forces, instead of fighting each other all the time, the Void and the Radiant, worked together to create a future?
That's practically unthinkable. I can't imagine such a thing happen. They are diametrically opposed.
I've already made peace with the current incarnation of the Void.
With the flesh, certainly, but the plane? They're different entities altogether. You represent an aspect of the radiance, not the radiance in itself.
Not kind of gestures that, yeah. So,
I
maybe,
suppose what you do with the incarnation of the void is your own purpose.
yes.
Any
I
other
seek.
questions?
I was told that there's souls here that are currently residing in peace, especially like souls like Zeraxos.
There
And
are prisoners here not allowed to experience transference. Much for our safety is theirs.
I was told that that Zeraxos had a change of heart. May I speak with them?
I don't see why not. If you allow, I will guide you to him.
Thank you.
On the way there, more questions? We have a lot of time.
Yes. So,
Morty kicks open the door.
when
Sup,
does
Big
the-
Z?
Is anyone capable of becoming an icon of the void or radiance, or are they chosen from birth?
Well, your avatar forms are unique in purpose. They are reincarnations. However, that doesn't mean that mortals are not capable of wielding both powers. Think of it this way. It's better put from the Pale King's own words. There is life, and there is death. There is anima, and there is umbra.
There's yin and there's yang. The people of my home has this knowledge as well, but they seek balance, and I seek to propagate that balance.
I suppose that's personal opinion.
Fair enough.
Regardless, any other questions?
What? I'm not completely sure.
Keeping in mind that each time that he asks, do you have any other questions, he gets uncomfortably close.
I do not care. I have read about these creatures and I feel at home beside them. So, Kieran's thinking. So, if the icons, the flesh icons, are able to choose their own wills, what happens to the larger voids and radiance when they forge a new destiny each time?
Well, as you've seen, certain aspects of your past lives can certainly accumulate and offer advice and wisdom. Not necessarily that your lives are purposeless and lead to nothing. You can build upon something. It's your choice, really.
Yes, I seek to further that building. I had another question. It just left my mind.
There are many questions I can think of.
What would you ask if you were in my position?
If I were in your position, that's an interesting point of view. Oh, were you asking me?
Yes.
Well, I suppose one of my first questions would be the origin of the domain that you currently walk in, and perhaps to the identity of its owner, or manager, administrator, personally. Great acclaim.
You seem to do a very well job.
It is my pride to manage this facility. It's my purpose.
Yes,
Our
and we
premature
must.
firing would destroy this installation.
So, how did it form? Is it? I'm sure the Pell King made this himself. Did he not?
In part, he is a very busy figure with a lot on his mind. There were many inventions by his hand. This was one of many.
You
However, it
say
does
that
serve a
in the
purpose.
present tense.
Well,
Is he?
certainly. He's not dead, is he? I can't imagine such a powerful figure as him being dead.
Kieran's eyes goes wide, and that's why I cannot sense the entirety of his life cycle, because it never ended.
Well, not entirely. Like I said, he shattered the cycle in his own benefits. Left is perhaps a more preferable term.
Did he ascend to godhood?
No.
Is he here in this realm?
In this realm, no. I would love to talk with my creator, but, unfortunately, this is my purpose.
Kieran nods. Where did he leave to then?
I am not certain.
Kieran's head tilts. That might be something I try to discover on my own one of these days. But for now, so would you be able to return me to my body now that I've gotten more answers to what's going on here?
Well, depending on how things outside of this blade operates, I imagine that many individuals will be experiencing transference soon.
Yes, they seek. So here's a question. Is this sword directly connected to the Starstone?
To the Starstone? I couldn't say for certain. But to the Star Child, certainly.
Yes.
They are deep repositories for one another.
So Kieran's going to, his eyes is going to look towards one of the walls as if he was looking towards the source of radiance. So all the souls that are floating here are not truly ever destroyed. They are merely just transferred to the ship itself.
Some are utilized for maintenance purposes, sad to say. But that is the purpose of souls, is it not? Seeing as how you possess fragmented memories of our Creator, you'd understand its purpose.
I understand some of its purpose, more or less. Well, I can't even say that. Most of
Souls are the
my.
building blocks of our reality, pieces of a puzzle that can be connected together, if
Yes.
placed in the right order. It is sad to say, but most of the mortal race is dedicated towards shaping their afterlives.
I would not say that's sad. It just is. Otherwise, what would the point of existing be if we can't move on into something eternal?
Regardless, I believe that we've arrived. He's just beyond that periphery there. And he almost makes a, like, it's almost as if he tries to point and forgets that he has like he doesn't have hands.
Karen's going to bow softly as a gesture of respect. Thank you so much. Kieran's going to walk through the doorway with his shadowy image instead
I
of
await
his.
your return with great interest.
As Karen goes through the doorway, he's going to knock on one of the walls if his body will allow it. Like, he doesn't know.
If there is a sigh that a rambling old skeleton can give. So they've deigned that I receive a second visitor. Oh, it's you.
Yes,
I
I
should have
said,
guessed.
when Savor contacted me and told me of what your thoughts currently were, I am. I wanted to come in here and seek if I could give you the peace you wanted.
Excuse me this brief curiosity. Did you kill yourself to get inside of this sword?
I was told it was the only way.
So you're trapped here in the same manner as I.
That may not be necessarily true, but I may.
Oh? What? Tell me, have you had a change of heart? You're not to be the warden of all of these souls, this eternal prison. What did you expect me to just fall into your arms?
No.
Pretend that all will be fine? You were the one that put me here. I understand that my motives were rather grim, but when confronted with your gatekeeper, do you greet them with glee?
I would say you didn't. Normally, the human response is no. I do not seek to. The purpose of the warden is to make sure that everyone who needs to stay is within remains. But if what I've been told is true, you no longer need to stay. I seek this to know if that's true.
And tell me, how exactly do you intend to free me now that you are in here with me? The way that I see it, you're as much a prisoner as I.
Maybe I am.
Then perhaps that's what you deserve. Spare me your regrets, your philosophy. I do not need to hear any of it. Silva was a puppet that saw me as a god, and I felt fit to give her life new purpose, to shatter her realization that I was not everything I was cracked up to be. It is true, I wish to leave this place, to be with my family in the afterlife. But what I did not tell her is that my family would never accept me by their side again.
Oh. I mean, that makes sense, but...
My crimes committed in life are too grievous to mend any in the afterlife. I am doomed to an eternity of loneliness. So please, either make room, enjoy some books, some wine, or kindly piss off.
Damn!
Aaron's going to gently bow. I regret you feel that way, and if you are unwilling to hear me out, then I will gladly comply and leave you to your peace. Kieran is going to, with a sigh, turn around.
I look forward to your onset of delirium. You're here forever, just so you know.
Aaron is going to turn around and just head through the doorway. Thank you for your advice.
Damn, okay.
And you leave. As soon as you exit the doorway, there's immediately like the hundreds of eyes bearing down on you.
And now Kieran is slightly nervous.
Was that to suit your fancy?
The firing of this ring will
I
destroy
don't
the
know what I
installation.
expected, honestly. I probably should have consulted Right, I just lost his name. There's so many names just flowing through my head constantly these days. I can't keep track of them anymore. Do you know where the name Magnus keeps coming through? Was that one of the previous avatars, or am I just confused?
Magnus.
Magnus!
I don't quite recall a specific Magnus. But who knows? The Pale King had many servants. Perhaps he was one of those.
Perhaps he was a
Maybe.
one-eyed cyclops.
So,
A red-skinned cyclops.
So, how next shall we spend the next 1,000 or perhaps millennium? No, sorry. Millennium, 1,000 years, same thing. My apologies.
it's okay. I'm pretty sure time here is meaningless, isn't it?
The eyes are just staring.
Karen is smiling. So,
I imagine it's one of those things where like lines start appearing under your eyes as you realize, oh shit.
yeah.
I fucked up.
So, exactly why is Savora released from my sword? Karen's gone ass.
No, that is a good question. Matter of fact, I don't even know the answer to it. That would be something you'd have to take up with the Phantom Queen.
Karen's gonna look over. Wait, wasn't she
I think
Spanish?
Savannah mentioned the Phantom Queen when she was talking to you about all this.
She did. Like it's like something that Karen knew that the Phantom Queen exiled herself, but forgot that she had returned.
I'm not allowed to discuss courtly intrigue, sadly to say.
Well, maybe you can put in the word to have her talk with me and maybe inform me of her choice. Why? Maybe she can inform me herself.
Well, in the meantime, any more questions?
There's so many questions that we could go on for an eternity, can't we?
Literally. And with that, tonight's session will draw to a close.
Man, maybe I should have gone even though I needed to take a piss.
Tyler, the fuck have you done there, champ?
I had no clue.
Maybe I should have just done my thing instead.
I made the joke of, oh, it's absurd to kill yourself to get into the sword.
I
And
essentially
you
was.
kill yourself to get into the sword.
Well, guys, looks like we're gonna have to go with Plan B.
You just had to have one person kind of say, yeah, it's probably the only way for you to be convinced.
My Carolyn
What?
was
Your
set
what?
himself on a mission, and he was going to seek that mission out to the end.
Yeah,
And
yeah, and guess what? He did.
Well,
His headless body's rolling around on his head's rolling around on the fucking floor. Your soul is trapped in the endless fucking abyss until you're driven insane and beg the creature, the fucking giant space cubes here, to put your soul through an engine.
I just totally